Good morning, JFW family. Welcome back to the Channel 23 podcast. The purpose of this podcast is to reach out and touch the fleet, to engage and inform everyone with all things JFW. Welcome back, Jim, Brother Dave, Super Dave, and welcome to our podcast, our special guest, Sergeant Mike Gabel.
Morning, everybody.
Morning,
Good
Mike.
Morning,
Everyone.
guys.
I'm super excited about this podcast. I'm super excited about our guests. We got a lot to cover. We got a robust outline. And, I'm ready to rock and roll.
That's good.
In our typical fashion, let's start off with the pledge.
Yeah, anybody that wants to join us in the trucks, join us.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
As a reminder, anything you hear in today's podcast is not the opinion of JFW. It's also not the opinion of the Broomfield Police Department. Do you want to add anything to that, Mike?
No, Jam. I think you covered it.
Last week, episode 58 did pretty well. That was Ray's podcast. There was 443 downloads. We're at 21,590 total downloads, and we have 153 followers. So
Nice.
slowly growing.
I enjoyed last week's podcast because I wasn't here and I got to listen to it.
That was your first one, wasn't it?
It was a new perspective for me because when you listen to one you've recorded,
right.
there's no surprise, right? So it was just good. I enjoyed it, and it was I think Ray did a really good job expressing, his life and some of the stuff that he's had happen, or what he's been through and whatnot. And I'm glad Ray's a part of our team. He does a great job.
He did a great job. He does a great job. He did a great job on the podcast, and I did get a lot of feedback that people just loved hearing his story and the transparency, and it was pretty raw.
It was.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I was going to kind of save it for a shout out here. I mentioned Ray. My brother-in-law, he's a avid listener, I guess, or fan, loves to listen to him and stuff. But one thing he mentioned about Ray after listening to Ray's story, and as honest as Ray was, that all the rest of us just don't have an excuse. If Ray can accomplish what he's accomplished from where he came from, because like we all talked, Ray didn't say he was homeless. Well, he mentioned he was homeless, but he said he came from the gutter. That was Ray's words.
Those are Ray's words. He said, "I'm from the gutter."
Exactly, and my son-in-law Tyler is like, he said, that just gives none of the rest of us. There is no excuse.
Yeah.
Right.
I compare it to seeing a guy in a wheelchair at the gym.
Yeah, there you go, Jen.
Yeah.
That's
he
true.
made
Yep.
it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, well, let's kick off the dad joke challenge. Mike, you're the newcomer. We always make the new blood go first.
Okay, I'll give it a shot. Where is King David's temple located?
Oh, we got church jokes.
Right next to his ear. And growing up, I had a father that was a traffic cop. I always suspected he was stealing. I could see the signs everywhere.
Man, you're good at this.
He's rolling them out.
The new guy brings it, right?
That's all I got.
You might be the new podcast host.
Yeah.
Nice job, man.
He's bringing the
Well,
heat.
he suckered me in. I'm thinking, in Jordan or Israel, where would that temple be?
Right next to his ear. That was a good one.
That's funny. Might as well go clockwise.
All right, let's do it. So I have a hunting and a gun joke to a degree, right?
You see, I got my hunting shirt on. Right?
I see that, and I know you've been pulling the gun puns lately. So, so two hunters are out in the woods when one of them collapses. He's not breathing, so his friend frantically calls 911. They answer. He says, "My friend is dead. What should I do?" The operator replies, "Calm down, sir. First, make sure he's really dead." There's silence, then a bang. Back on the phone, the guy says, "Okay, now what?"
That's a good one.
Well, since we've talked about ears, why can't a nose be 12 inches long?
Because that would be a foot.
There you go.
Man, that was almost rehearsed.
Wow.
Thanks, Dave.
Nice.
Help me out with the punchline.
That's like
buddy.
the first answer I've ever gotten.
Yeah, that was awesome.
That was good.
That's good.
So mom's fixing dinner, right? And she's got 6 kids, but she only has 5 potatoes. How many potatoes are each kid going to get?
Guessing this is a math joke, Dave.
Oh, man, don't be silly. She's going to make mashed potatoes.
Very good. Well, in honor of having Sergeant Mike Gabel on, I have a cop joke. So, an officer sees a man exit a bar at closing time and get into his car. After observing some erratic driving, he pulls the man over. The officer asks the driver, "Where are you going at this time of the night?" The man replies, "Well, I'm on my way to attend a lecture about alcohol abuse and its effects on the human body, as well as smoking and staying out late." The officer says, "Who would give that kind of lecture at this time of night?" The man says, "My wife."
Attend a lecture. That's funny.
New employees. We have a new driver, Frank McCoy, started Monday. Welcome to the team, Frank.
Nice.
Welcome, Frank.
aboard,
Welcome, Frank.
And we got some great celebrations this week. Anniversaries, Don Keller, 2 years today.
All right. Good for you, Don. Thank you.
And then we got Paco Pox Nahara. He's got 4 years this coming Saturday.
You know what's impressive about Paco being here 4 years?
Yeah.
Do you guys know? And I know Jam does, only because I overheard it, so I had Jam double check it.
No.
Do you know he's never called out? He's never had a sick day in 4 years.
I did know that. He told me that because he said last year, "Dave, do you remember when I was telling you I haven't called out in 3 years?" And I was like, "Well, yeah." He goes, "Well, guess what? Now I haven't called out in 4 years."
That's
wow,
awesome.
right? Right on.
Good for you, Paco.
Yeah,
Thank
way
you.
to go, Paco.
He's still got to make it till Saturday, but I have a good feeling he'll do it.
I bet he can pull it off. He's got
Yeah.
a pretty good track record, right?
Paco, you're a better man than me because I've had a few call-outs.
Yeah, me too, Jim.
Yeah.
Birthdays, we got Israel Ish Coronado. His birthday was on the 11th. Rick Colleen, his birthday was yesterday. Todd Dull, his birthday's on the 16th. And Veronica Areola, her birthday is on the 17th. Veronica's birthday is a big one. I'm not going to give the number, but
Well, she's 20, right?
yep.
Turning 21, it's a big
Oh,
one.
21. Yeah, get to drink, right?
Right.
Well, happy birthday, everybody.
Yeah, happy birthday, everyone. Enjoy.
A lot of good family birthday celebrations. We got Don Keller's wife, Judy. Her birthday was also on the 11th. See Claudia Alvarez. She turns 10 on the 13th. That's Francisco's daughter. Emma Nikema, that's Kurt Spencer's significant other. She turned, well, I don't know what she turns, but her birthday's on the 13th. Megan Flathers, Mike Tafoya's significant other. Her birthday's on the 14th. And then George Martinez, Andrew Martinez's son, turned 7 on the 16th. So,
Wow.
Right on.
A lot of December birthdays.
Yeah, happy birthday,
absolutely,
everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What does that back up to? St. Patrick's Day? Or, Valentine's Day.
Oh, okay.
there you go, almost to the day.
Right?
Huh.
Yeah.
I love
There's always
seeing
a reason why.
I love seeing the kids' birthdays because that's a celebration.
Yeah,
It is,
yeah.
yeah.
Like turning 7.
Yeah.
What a great
Yeah.
age. 7.
You know?
Yeah.
Fun stuff.
There's
Yeah,
some
when you're-
adults, though, that just love their birthday.
Yeah.
I mean, they live for that day. Like, they take the day off work. You know what it is? They've got it planned out. They're doing this, they're doing that. And
I missed it. Who does that?
just some people, Jan.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
I know
Oh,
some
we've got people
that-
here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they relish the day. It's awesome.
Then some other people like me, I've been there, done that, had enough of those birthdays. I don't want to see,
Right.
You know, well, I do want to see more, but I'd like to go be that 20-something birthday again, or that 30-something birthday.
Actually, I think I took my birthday off this year. My wife still makes a big deal out of my birthday. I don't really want her to do that, but she wants it to be a special day, and she asked me to take it off. So
That's awesome.
Yeah, we got the PTO. You might as well do it. What a great day to
Absolutely.
do it. So.
Yeah, I think it's more of an age thing when you get to
Right.
not
You're
like you
jaded.
said, Dave,
You're
not
jaded.
not really excited about your birthday. It's an age thing. It's still
It is.
yeah, it's still a great day. It is.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Shout outs. I want to give a personal shout out to Patrick Gallegos. Patrick was up at Fry last week, minding his business, waiting to get underneath bin 2, and another truck pulling a steel rock tub came by and just totally ran into the back of his trailer, rock trailer to trailer, and jarred the truck pretty good. But Patrick Gallegos handled that accident perfectly. It's kind of like when we talk about, if Mikey calls you about a mechanical problem and he asks you, how many doors does a truck have? And you tell him, the trailer's fine. Patrick was on point. He was precise. He was clear. It was easy to work the accident with him.
Good.
And he did everything just perfect. So
Nice.
made me feel like he's a super competent person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because we've had it like, okay, here's what you do, and then the driver did something completely different. And
Sure.
It's like, well,
Right,
now there's more work involved.
That video too, Jam, we talk about that speed and space and, driving past someone sitting still and that situational awareness all the time. That always seems to be our key, the situational awareness. And man, that other truck, that driver had no situational awareness. He was coming past us. I don't know how fast he was going to pass us as we were sitting
It was
still.
fast in the video, wasn't it, Dave?
it looked like he was
it's like
just
a blur of light.
flying.
Yeah. I mean, it looked
Yeah.
like over 20, and I'm sure it wasn't 20, but
It looked like he sped up.
yeah, when you're within 2 or 3 feet from something and you're going past it that fast,
Right.
What if up there in the pit? What if the driver would have opened the door or something like that?
What if somebody was in front of the truck and came walking out?
Right.
Yeah,
right.
I mean, there's just
Yeah.
just
That's
a
that
million things.
situational awareness. Just slow down, and you just have to think of those things. I don't know at what point you gain that aptitude, right, or that awareness. Because it's clearly a maturity thing. We talk about that all the time. More years driving and whatnot. Just
The thing is, looking at, because I saw the other driver's license picture, he's an old seasoned vet. I mean, I can't tell you he's been driving trucks for 40 years because I don't know, but
He wasn't a youngster, so you
he
think
wasn't
he's got
brand new.
20 years under his
Right.
belt.
Wasn't his first time driving
should've
up to
known
levels.
better.
Should have known better.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and I know you guys are talking about the speed of the truck and stuff, but the video, we just love those videos anymore. It's a hit in the cab.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the truck shakes from being hit
It
from
threw
the back.
Patrick forward, didn't
Right.
it?
Right? It was.
Yeah, I
it's
don't want
pretty-
to. I don't want to
opening.
talk too much about it, but Patrick's been out all week.
Yeah,
because
yeah,
of it.
yeah.
His muscles in his back tightened up, and he's having problems. So
Yeah.
it was significant.
Yeah, I think it was one of those things where you just sitting there relaxed, and somebody would like walk up to you and shove you.
Right.
Because you're not expecting that.
Right.
Yeah.
That's one of those again too. When you think about it, right? You're driving all day long. You've got something 35 feet behind you. How do you not make sure it's following you and behind you, and it's going to clear what you're passing? And we talk about those things all the time.
It's got to be speed, though, Dave. I mean, that is the only thing. You don't even
And-
have time to look at your trailer.
And complacency.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I'm sure, Mike, you could talk about complacency because I know in the law enforcement world that gets harped on quite a bit, right?
Oh yeah. A lot of people get distracted, eating while they're driving, texting while they're driving, and obviously one of the most important things you could do. You could change your life in a second.
Yep. Absolutely. We never mind.
I talk about this a lot, especially to the drivers, and we talked about it in the safety committee this morning because we had 2 of the accidents we were covering involved a little bit of distraction, right? But everybody kind of, and if you're driving a truck, and we've all driven, and you probably see it from your point of view in your patrol car or whatnot, that everybody's doing something else when they're in traffic.
Right.
They're reading the paper, they're reading a book, they're eating a bowl of cereal, they're on their phones.
Doing makeup.
Doing makeup, yeah. And the thing is, driving is what you should be concentrating on. It is your
primary focus.
primary focus. It's your mission. You're driving a 3,000-pound weapon, a bullet,
A deadly weapon.
Yeah, so don't think that that's downtime for you to accomplish something else.
Right,
And,
Drive your car.
right. Even if you're sitting still at a light.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, as I've gotten older, they say you gain more patience. I'm to the point now, if there's several vehicles or just one in front of me and that light changes and that car doesn't move, I am instantly on the horn. Whether that's right or wrong, I don't know. Maybe Mike could educate me a little bit on that. But
Oh, that's wrong, Dave. Let them finish their text.
I just have zero patience because, just like you said, Dave, you're out on the road. Your primary job is to be driving.
You're right.
I just being down in Austin there last week, we were running around all these little areas, and it's a pretty touristy or niche community down there, right? And I mean, we were stacked up in this turn lane, and I had already set through the light once. We didn't make it the second time, and then the third time, the car right in front of me sits there, and Janet's with me, and she doesn't like me to honk. I'm not going to lie. She's like, you can just be patient. And I'm like, no, that person can just go. We're here to do something, right? That car has a mission. It's going somewhere.
We'd like to make the green arrow. That's
exactly.
Or the light,
So
you know.
anyway, Jim, the light changes. This is my third time at the intersection. They get the green in front of me, and they just sit there. And they were in front of me and sat through the other two lights, so you'd think they would be wanting to go through the light as well. So I don't give it the little, it's like, and I'm on the horn. And, I get the slap in the arm from Janet, like, just let them go. So they go through the light, and of course I didn't make it.
Right.
Only one car got through the light.
Isn't that a pet peeve?
And I just sat there. My face was all red. It was all hot.
Yep.
I'm just like,
Yep. They screwed you out of the green light, really, is what happened.
Which, and in the big scheme of things, that doesn't matter, right? I mean, it ultimately doesn't matter. I'm not rushing to some scene or something like that, but it's just frustrating, right?
But it is the bar. It is what it is. It is. You're meant to go through that light.
Yeah.
That's like you guys are saying. That's your job. Go through the light. Pay attention.
Right.
Yeah.
Be courteous to everybody else, no matter what you're doing.
You're sitting maybe you're not at the pole position, but if you're at the pole position at that light, it is your job to help other people get through the light,
Yeah.
So here's the thing, though. We're talking about somebody's not paying attention and they didn't go through a green light. It's frustrating. But if you're not paying attention and you run a bicyclist over or you run a pedestrian over and kill somebody, I mean...
Right.
Now,
What if you're not paying attention? You go through the red light, right, Jim?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You hurt somebody or kill somebody. I mean, we all know the property could be replaced or you'll get to where you're going, but we seen it down there in Castle Rock coming out of Plant 39. That driver wasn't paying attention, and he's got a $18 million lawsuit on his hands right now.
Right.
So
Yeah, I'd hate to be that family for sure.
Yeah, and there again, I mean, we can't. I guess we can't talk about it, huh, Jim? I shouldn't say that.
Yeah, it
Sorry.
happened to me once.
Maybe later we'll talk about it.
Years ago in Brighton. You need to pay attention because the people around you likely are not. And I had the green light. I had an arrow. I was turning the corner, and a girl on a bicycle was not paying attention. And she was, I don't know, maybe 13 years old, not a tiny kid, but she was on her own on the bike. Just rode her bike right off the curb because she was going to cross the street.
Yeah.
And I was turning and in the big truck even, and I was like, holy crap, this kid's coming out into the street. And I stopped. And then she saw this big grill on this Peterbilt, and she fell down. She wiped out.
Oh, wow.
And I got out of the truck and helped her up. I'm like, are you okay? And she was fine, but she was scared to death. But if
bet.
I wasn't paying attention, I would have run her right over.
Sure.
been a lot of lives changed
Because she wasn't paying attention.
Yep. Linda wanted to give a shout out. We gave a shout out to all of Dispatch last week, which includes Linda, but Linda wanted to give a shout out to the awesome Dispatch family, we have Oz and Randy, for doing extra duty while I was out. I know it's a lot more work being one down. I really appreciate them, and I did not feel stressed at all, and they would do a great job, and they did. Thank you, and thank you, and thank you to Oz and Randy. So nice for Linda to be able to break away and not worry about things falling apart.
Yeah. Good stuff. Good stuff. Yeah, I have a couple, Jam, or actually three of them I just wanted to mention. So we had a kind of an impromptu meeting with the bulkers yesterday, all the bulker drivers and stuff, and I just wanted to say what a pleasure it was, talking to each one of them, seeing them, haven't seen them in a long time, really. And then, during the meeting, we went over a lot of different stuff, and we went over, brakes and safety, same kind of stuff we cover with everybody else, but they were so attentive on what we were talking about and their enthusiasm, their willingness to learn, ask questions. So it was nice on that part to be that involved. And then I wanted to mention Ray, which I already did. So I went over that with Ray. And then, I haven't chased down the rumor yet. So I'm going by rumors as a shout out.
Oh, wow.
Right? It worries you when I say that, right? I haven't chased it down.
No, because it's a shout out. You're going to think somebody. We're not stirring rumors.
No,
right?
we're not.
Yeah.
But so hopefully I have the facts right, because if I have the facts right, the rumor right, it's pretty special, and I think people need to know about it, right?
The suspense is killing me.
It is,
right?
me too.
If I have it. So we're doing 17 days of Christmas each day.
Oh yeah.
We're announcing things and giving gifts away.
Yeah.
And so we've kind of given the people in the office here, or however you want to look at it, hey, if you want to do something nice through the holidays, do it. Me and Dave are behind you, whatever we can do to help, and so this has been going on, and I know guys have been coming up and people and getting the gifts, and everybody seems really exciting. I think Mitch stopped by your office and said, thanks, Dave, for this. And so the rumor is, or the gossip that I got, that if it's true, a huge shout out, but we're back to Linda again. And I understand from the rumors that Linda bought all the gifts.
Wow.
So
Awesome.
not anything to do with JFW, not anything to do with me and Dave. I understand that she bought all the gifts, took the time and went and got them, and provided that. So I just want to say what a special heart right there that Linda
How does
has.
that heart fit in her chest
Right,
cavity?
Telling you, right?
Big stuff. So
Yeah.
if that's true, Linda, thank you from the bottom of all of our hearts.
Yeah,
Absolutely, very special.
she's very giving.
Awesome, Linda.
Yep. I've seen Linda spring into action on things before, and it has to do with generosity. And she doesn't do it for, she tries to do it under the, flying under the radar.
Oh yeah,
under the
this
table.
is a secret gossip thing.
You can't do anything around here without people finding out, though.
I do kind of want to mention on those gifts, just we don't have it on the list, and it just made it pop in my head, but the toy drive.
Oh, toy drive. Yeah.
Tons of gifts have been brought in for the toy drive. I mean, we just about have the other office full. And I know last night I had mentioned the toy drive. Actually, some parents on my son's swim team work with DR Horton Homes. So last year they saw we were involved with that. They've teamed up with us as well. So they'll be doing some pickups at DR Horton Homes. But also in addition to that, because they're on the swim team, they got with the swim team, and my son brought home a whole pickup load of toys last night from the swim team, and he's got another stop to make tonight, and I think it'll be another pickup load. So we may need an end dump this year
I was
instead
going
of
to
the
say,
tandem.
at least the pup.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, that
That's
would be
pretty cool.
So much fun.
I was getting a little nervous, too, because we announced the toy drive, and, there were no toys for a few days, and then all of a sudden, they're in the vault. But the vault's getting pretty full.
Right.
It is getting full. Yeah, and so that ends tomorrow. If you're thinking about it, we need the gifts by tomorrow morning, basically, you guys, because we do go down to the mall to drop them off, and then over to Salvation Army to drop them all off. But yeah, I was thinking about that, you guys. I'm glad you brought it up, Dave. That it's so important to give to the kids and stuff like that, and what those gifts will mean to some kids. But I also thought about what it meant to me, and I think a lot of our teammates here is, we can't do anything with like the price of eggs and food and fuel and gas and interest rates and all the stuff we're faced with. But it makes my heart feel so good personally that we're able to give, and it just brings some nice joy. And I hope all the people that have given, feel the same way, because it helps with your attitude, my attitude about things. Yeah, because I can't do anything about the other stuff. So I'm glad we're doing that this year. Feels good.
Yeah, I mean it was pretty overwhelming when Erica showed up, your youngest daughter, on Monday. And this isn't to toot our own horn, so I'm just, it's kind of to toot Paradigm, Erica's company.
Yeah,
Erica
James and Erica.
Husband. Yeah. So JFW donated $1,500, and Erica went out and they bought $1,500 worth of toys, and then her company, her and her husband's company, Paradigm, they matched that, and they've went out and bought $1,500 worth of toys, in addition to everything that everyone else has brought in, and the swim team has gathered, and DR Horton Homes have gathered, and whatnot. So
and then they partnered with
abundance.
Hand and Stone, or Stone and Hand.
Right, yes, I forget that, Jim, because it wasn't on there last year. I think they bought
Massage Envy, so another company.
Wow. I gotcha. That makes sense.
And I'm mixing the name up. It's either Hand and Stone or Stone and Hand, but they're a new massage, company, and all of their teammates or employees or people that came in were able to drop off gifts. So
awesome.
Yeah, it's good. It's good stuff.
I think it's worth mentioning too is you remove a lot of stress off a lot of parents that want to provide these neat gifts, but financially just cannot do it. And by the heart and donations of people, it really makes Christmas special. Not only for those kids that receive, but a lot of parents.
Exactly, Mike. Yeah, that's kind of what I was getting at. Yeah, if it brings joy to the parents because it took some relief off, I mean, that's special. Yeah, good stuff.
Good point.
We weren't there for it last year, Mike, but we did the TV spot at Macy's, and then all of the television stuff was done, and then we had two of our guys volunteered, Casey Guthrie and Dustin Romero, and they delivered the toys to Salvation Army, and they said that's where the celebration was.
That's awesome.
Because they said when they opened up that back door and then we lifted the tailgate on our trailer or on our truck, they were just mind blown at the toys. They were so excited that they were going to be able to provide gifts for all these kids and their families. So
I want to see that this
right
year,
and
yeah.
and none of that was captured.
Oh, man.
So it was the way Casey and Dustin explained it. It was
That's cool.
it was very cool. It sounded like
Very nice.
Yeah, James is going to try to film all that this year himself.
Yeah.
And give it to the news.
Oh, that's-
so that part can be captured this time.
that would be awesome. Yeah, because that's what it's about.
Oh, yeah, it's exactly what it's about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, some JFW business here. A couple things on the list. Number one is, if you're a new driver here at JFW and you're doing your job, do it the way that your trainers told you to do it. You may see a senior driver doing something that is outside the scope of what your trainer showed you. For example, asking for 30 tons or 32 tons. Let's say 32 tons. That'll put you right about 92,000 pounds. Well, that driver has a heavy permit. He's running secondary roads. He's been here a while. He can do that with the permit. You know, if you didn't have a permit and you haven't been here 90 days and JR and Scooby or Kendrick and Pat or safety team didn't come to you and talk to you about how the heavy permit works, you can't haul over 85,000 period on secondary roads and don't haul over 80,000 on the interstate.
Right.
And that's just one example. There's other things you may see a more experienced driver do. It's because he has the experience to do it, or she,
And been trained for it.
and been trained for
Yeah.
it.
And all that's gone over with JR in the orientation class. You've signed off on those things. You've got a document page, and I know some people that are new to the industry, it might seem a little overwhelming. If you've been in the industry, you get it.
Right.
You understand what's going on, and one of two things is happening. You're innocent or you're guilty.
Right.
Right? You didn't understand or you get it and you're pushing the envelope.
You know, I always like the term ignorance is no excuse. You know, if you don't know, you
I thought
should
that was
know.
ignorance is bliss.
I go by that one. The bliss thing is wonderful.
It's your job as a professional CDL license
Absolutely.
holder to know the laws. You know, I mean,
Absolutely.
we've had people say they didn't know you can't haul over 80,000 on the interstate. Well, you never told me that. Well, we don't need to tell you that.
No,
I mean, that's,
yeah.
Heck,
you
Jay,
learn
I
that
have
when
guys that don't know the difference between an interstate or a secondary road.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the same thing,
All
though,
that.
Jam, when we talked about it last week or the week before about needing a driver's license and being responsible for that. You know, that's not us.
Right.
You know, it's on you, you know.
We got to micromanage it, though. We're the ones that got to,
we do.
you know, everyone should have a driver's license here, but we have to micromanage that and make sure. Mm-hmm. You know?
It's our responsibility to be better, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So,
And then he tried to lay the blame on us. I couldn't believe that.
Well, moving on.
yes.
Bigger and brighter things.
Yep. We got, from what I understand, after talking to Ray last week, he's going to organize the trainer meetings, like a once a month thing. Did you guys get a whiff of that?
I know we mentioned it to him, but I didn't know if that's what he was going to try to do or whatever. But yeah,
Yes, he's actually mentioned it to me. I want to say a week or so ago, but I just forwarded him yesterday the names and numbers of all the trainers, so he's going to start gathering that up, and we should get this put together here real soon.
Yeah, very
That's
cool.
what I love about JFW. You want to do something here? You think you have a way to make us better? Do it. Now that's your job.
Right.
Yeah. How cool is that for Ray? Way to step up. We already went over the meeting with the Bulker division in your shout out, Jim, but we covered a lot in that meeting. The thing that I thought was cool is I thought that was going to be a 30-minute meeting. You know what I mean? And we were there for, I think, close to 2 hours.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty in-depth. We went over because the Bulker trailers still have drum brakes. So that means they got slack adjusters. That means they have, you know, drums, and you gotta check your brake stroke and the whole 9 yards. And
Right.
they're the only trailers that do. So we had to go over that with those guys, and you know, we had a pretty in-depth brake stroke class.
Yeah. And you know the cool thing, all of them were engaged.
Yes, I was just
Every-
going to say
every
that.
one of them
They
had
were
questions
eager
and-
to learn,
yeah.
and they were involved.
Yep.
And they didn't shirk responsibility when Jim asked if anybody, I think it was you, Jim, I'm not sure, asked if anybody has measured their brake stroke on those trailers.
Yeah.
Because those trailers are kind of like red-headed stepchildren. They get left at the plants because they're preloaded all the time.
Right.
They don't get back here to the yard very often.
Yep. I feel like we got better that day.
Oh, totally.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Definitely, Jim.
More information, right? I mean, at a certain point, it was like we have to stop. We need to turn the fire hose off because some of this. It's great if you're getting it and you have questions, but at a certain point, we needed to stop.
Yeah, I was starving. It was time for breakfast.
Oh,
Next week's weather. Super Dave, you been watching the weather?
I have. And if you thought the last day was cold, you ain't seen nothing yet.
funny. I looked this morning, you guys. It changed.
Did it?
It's all seasonal next week. It's
good.
There's no below zero. There's no.
Really?
Yeah, the coldest day next week is overnight 7 degrees.
Yeah, so when we all looked like yesterday or the day before,
Yeah.
the one day was a high of 4 below and a low of like 19 below next
Yeah.
Thursday.
Yeah.
So
was brutal.
if it changed, great.
Well, it could change again because it's
Yeah,
only,
right,
I mean,
right.
it's still 10 days out.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
could
but-
have snow on one of those days, right?
Yeah. According to it now, that day that we were looking at for 4 below as the high
the
and
21st?
17 below as the now I'm showing 27 degrees for the high and 12 for the low. So it's changed again since I looked this morning. So yeah, next week looks great now.
I want to be a weatherman.
Yeah.
You know,
Always be wrong and still have a job.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
just no pressure to be
They're,
right.
they're just following computer models, you know.
I want to be a computer model.
You have to be good. You have to be good at presenting stuff, though, because I know I mentioned everything to you this week about watching that one weather person, and they're like, oh, we're going to have really great weather this weekend. It's exceptionally warm. Because usually the seasonal high is 40 degrees in December. That's the seasonal average. But we're going to have some really cold weather this week. And it's going to be between 30 and 40.
Right.
Well, I thought the seasonal average was 40.
Right.
I mean, the presentation's wonderful.
Another thing we want to bring up is these aluminum trailers, they're kind of like pop cans. They're very thin and fragile. If you get overloaded or there's any reason to dig something out of your trailer, you can't have a big old Cat 950H or even a bigger one come over to scoop anything out of those trailers because you will put a hole in it. And we just ruined the top rail on one of the trailers. What do you estimate that top rail is going to cost to replace, guys?
Jam, I am praying they can just repair it. I'm praying for that, and the repair is going to be $3,000 minimum. If they have to replace it, we're looking 10 to 15,000. I'm sure.
Right.
And then the last time, Dave, right? We couldn't get one.
Right.
Then when we got it, the shipping was like more than the rail.
It was astronomical. Yeah.
The rail, and then the time because they disassemble the trailer basically
Yeah.
to get that top rail in. It is not good, and your whole thing about the pop can, you're spot on. We've made them as light as possible, and they just aluminum bins. It is a pop can. You know how easily you dent a pop can.
Yeah. But they're structurally engineered and designed
To be badass.
to hold things together, right? To
They
haul
are
a big,
badass.
to haul
You
a
know,
big load.
yeah.
They're not designed to be hit.
Yeah.
Right? They're not designed to be hit with the loader. They're not designed to back into a concrete wall. They're not designed to be hit with a hammer.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I tell people that a lot. That trailer empty weighs 9,500 pounds, so 4.5 tons, and we regularly load it up with 30 tons.
Right.
Is that not cool?
Legally.
That is cool.
Yeah. You know what's funny is that's the same weight as my pickup.
I was about to ask you how much that pickup weighs.
Yeah, my pickup's just under 9,000 pounds.
That's heavy.
And that trailer's 9,500.
So you're like overweight all the time when you drive through neighborhoods.
only
aren't
if
you?
I'm in there, Dave.
That's great.
Well, I'm not riding with you. I'm not going to be overweight.
I need to get a Ford that's aluminum body so I can put on some more weight.
Super Dave, you want to talk about proper CB use and how to set a CB radio up so people could hear you and
Sure.
you could hear people?
Yeah, I was kind of not even really thinking about it at all, but Jim looked at me a bit ago and he goes, well, is that got to do with people swearing and, talking poorly
Trash.
or talking trash. Thank you. I was going to use that other word, but talking trash on the radio.
Come on, driver, you stupid.
And, hey, we all love talking like that on the radio, but in many situations, it's not right. There's scale ladies listening. There's other people listening that could certainly be offended. But actually, the point of this point in the podcast here has got nothing to do with that. It's about how you properly talk into the radio. So these radios are set up that you have to, as we used to always say, step up to the mic. And I'm getting a lot of people that are coming to me and saying, hey, Dave, I need a new radio. Nobody can hear me, right? My radio doesn't work. And the radios are pretty complicated. They have to have a good antenna. You have to have a good ground. You have to have a power source that is interference-free. The mics have 4 to 6 wires in the cords, and those wires are barely thicker than a hair. They're very, very thin, and you pull on those wires a few different times, and they're going to break, right? So you got to be careful with those mics. You got to, make sure everything's plugged in. You got to make sure the antenna doesn't have a lot of corrosion on it. If it does, we can replace those studs and replace the mounts of those and clean them up with a wire brush. But most importantly, you need to make sure that your mic gain is turned all the way to the right, or at least 3/4 of the way. Your RF gain, those are 2 separate knobs on the radio, is turned at least 3/4 of the way to the right. And then when you key up and speak, you've got to put that mic right in front of your mouth and hold it very close. Otherwise, the modulation, is what we call it, will not transmit electronically out through the antenna. And then obviously nobody's going to hear you, and they're going to look at you like, hey, your radio's broken. But very often it's not the radio. It's just the way that you have the knobs tuned and the way that you're speaking into the microphone itself. So you got to step up to the mic. You have to speak up, speak clearly, and hold that mic right up to your mouth. Don't key up with it 3 feet away, like hanging off the headliner.
Nice.
So,
Yeah, and I think the reason some people do that is they're not used to that noise-canceling mic. They're used to the mic that comes with the radio, and you don't want to eat that mic because you'll just overmodulate or something like that. Yeah. So, yeah, if you got one of those new static mics, they even have a lip guard on it, if you haven't mentioned that.
Yep.
Is that what that's called, a lip guard?
I think so.
Mustache brush.
Yeah.
Yeah, and those are
Snack
those
saver.
are high-dollar mics. They're the best. I always used it in a static mic.
Yeah, they're
absolutely.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah, we used to have to buy those cool mics when I was a driver here. You didn't have a CB radio, and you definitely didn't have you bought all that. And it's like, I'm a couple weeks, I'm gonna save up, I'm gonna get me in a static mic. Now Super Dave just buys them. He buys the chrome looking ones and just hands them out like candy. Yeah, it's a good deal.
Yeah, and I think the bottom line to this is Dave's asking, or we're all asking though, if you think your radio isn't working, make sure you're doing everything that you possibly can to make that radio work.
Right.
You've checked your squelch, you've checked the RF gain, you've checked that the volume's up, you have the mic up to your face, you're talking loudly, you're talking clearly. Make the radio work like it's supposed to is basically the bottom line. And then come to us and go, hey, your radio doesn't work. Because like what Dave usually finds out is 90% of the time it's the operator, not the radio.
Yeah.
And that's what we're trying to get across here.
Yeah, and if you don't know, if you don't understand what we're talking about, just come see one of us. We'd be happy to. It takes
Absolutely.
In 30 seconds, we could change your CB radio experience.
Yep.
So,
Experience.
you'll be getting out all
How
over
was your
town.
day, honey? I had a CB radio experience.
A good one instead of nobody can hear me.
Right?
All right. Well, I already mentioned I'm super excited to have Sergeant Mike Gabel here. It was a little tough trying to learn about Mike, so I shot him an email and he told me a couple things, and I just love this. In his own words, because I asked him, what are you into? What do you do outside of work? What was your career like? So his words, my passions in life are my faith in God, family, and friends. I have 2 grandsons. I have 2 daughters that are about to graduate from medical school, and I've been married for 32 years. Like Dave White, I am strong in my patriotism for the country. I mean, that is awesome and powerful. I mean, I wish I could say all those things. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
good job, Mike. I mean, it just makes me think we had a life coach come in several years ago, Mike, and ask us kind of questions like that. And personally, I was like, I don't know. I've never thought about it. So good job, Mike. Yeah,
Difficult to answer.
Yeah, way to go.
I appreciate it. I've known both Jim and Dave White for years. I've been a recipient of having material delivered to my property, and think a lot of both you guys and your business. Very professional, like what you stand for, and it's my pleasure to be here today. Thanks.
Awesome.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks,
Yeah.
thanks for joining us.
Tell us about your faith in God. Where does that come from?
Well, I was raised in a Christian home, and my father actually was my Sunday school teacher for a while. I'm very, very lucky to be raised with faith and give me kind of a sense of balance. Not that I've been an angel my whole life, because I've definitely strayed and done some things that I'm not proud of. But I think coming from a family that showed me that life was bigger than just me, and kind of set the barometer for the right direction. So.
Awesome. What does being a Christian mean to you? What does Christianity mean to you? Because a lot of people think, oh, religion, and I'm just going to be condemned. And what does being a Christian man mean to you?
It means the world, actually. It means that how awful the world gets. There is a place that if you accept Christ as your Savior, that you'll go someday, that will not have sin, will not have darkness, sadness, crime, violence. It means that this world is temporary, and there is a great God that loves us and sent His Son to die on the cross for our sins.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Good stuff.
Very cool.
What do you got to do to get in?
So it's just a gift. It's not by works. It's
love that.
All you have to do is accept the fact that Jesus died on the cross for your sins, and it's amazing that all you have to do is accept that and believe in Him. So
By grace through faith alone. So tell us about your family and friends, how that is a passion of yours.
Well, I have an amazing wife, been married 32 years, and stuck through things thick and thin. Law enforcement's not always easy to be married when you're the spouse, and your husband or wife is working through the middle of the night, and some really rough situations. So shout out to Shannon, my wife. And then I have two daughters that are married, both with grandsons, and one in Arizona that's studying to be a doctor and has about 6 months before she'll get out and start shadowing a doctor. And my older daughter, Bailey, is just about to graduate from nursing school in March. So
Sweet.
Very
Awesome.
cool.
Sounds like you did a good job raising them.
I give credit to Mom.
Now, I get a sense that you have a passion for kids, just because I did find on the internet, and you're wearing a hat, but you are a mentor in the Fathers of the Field. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, it's an incredible program. Fathers in the Field is nationwide, and in several different states. I was introduced to Flatirons Church Fathers in the Field program, and became a mentor father. My mentor kid, Noah, I started when he was 9. He's 12 now, and just has had a huge impact on my life. Just being able to take a kid that has no relationship really with a father type figure and spend time with them doing things that we like. We kayak, we shoot bows, we shoot guns, and just basically have fun. And it's a faith-based program, so also try to point his heart towards God. And I've just been extremely lucky to be part of the program.
Oh, that's awesome. And you said he's 12 now?
Yes.
So he could go hunting next year.
Oh, yeah.
You guys got plans for that?
Oh yeah, I think we're going to do a turkey hunt in the future.
Nice.
Good.
And what's the criteria? Is it pretty stringent to become a father in the field? I mean, I'm assuming they do a background check, and not anybody can be just like, yeah, I want to take a kid fishing.
They do. First of all, it's quite a commitment. I was lucky. My daughters were raised. I had some spare time. But the commitment is you go to church together twice a month, and you usually do some type of activity that's fun. And we also do a lot of charity type work for widow people, some of the elderly homes, as far as yard work, stuff like that. Give them a sense of giving back and kind of ownership.
That's awesome. And they expect you to do this until they're 18, or?
Well, it's you sign up for 1 year at a time.
Okay.
You make a 1 year commitment with the end goal of being 3 years together.
Okay.
So I have officially finished my commitment with Noah, but we'll be friends forever.
Gotcha. And is that still going to be through Fathers of the Field, or you guys are just on your own now?
We're on our own now.
Gotcha. Okay, wow. That's great. And I think I read, I did read a little bit about Noah, but it sounds like he's really come out of his shell. He was pretty quiet when you met him and wasn't super outgoing.
Oh, yeah. We had some long, quiet car rides when we were driving, and it really, I had to pick my brain to figure out how to get the conversation started. We talk about favorite colors, what type of car he likes. But I'll never forget, we went for a hike one day, and he opened up, and just from then he was a chatterbox. So,
was it like what is it called, geology? Is that the study of rocks, or do I got that right?
That is correct.
Yeah,
Yes.
and he picked up on, like, he knew a lot about rocks or something, right?
Yes, he's has a science brain, very intelligent kid, and loves anything to do with science.
Man, I just saw something on, it was probably one of the social media platforms, but they said all kids are scientists. You know, what is air made out of? You know, what's a cloud? What is good? You know, they're just so they're all scientists, and then at some point, as we become adults, we lose that passion for science. We stop asking those ridiculous questions that there are actually answers to. You know what I mean?
There are actually answers to.
What is air made out of? I don't know. You know?
Right?
I was just going to say, what is air made out of?
I don't know.
Primarily oxygen and nitrogen.
See, you're still a kid, Dave. You do still have that science mind, because you have a lot of that information.
I
you
really
enjoy
like
that
science,
stuff, huh,
yes.
Dave? Yeah.
Very cool. So, Mike, you've done, I believe it's 32 years of law enforcement. Would you say that's been a good career path for you?
It's been a great career. Really enjoyed having the opportunity to do a lot of different assignments, and everything from working the schools with kids as a school resource officer, investigate serious crimes, and supervise different teams of people. It's been awesome.
Sure. You started in 1992 with Commerce City Police Department. Got down, you done patrol. You were a school recess officer. You mentioned detectives. What was the crime like in Commerce City in 1992?
Very active. A lot of different gangs, biker groups, but mainly youth gangs kept us real busy.
Yeah, a lot of drugs.
A lot of drugs.
Yeah. Would you say it's the same now, or do you think Commerce City has gotten better or worse?
The north end of Commerce City has changed the dynamics of the city quite a bit.
Okay.
When I worked here, it was mainly just the south end of the city. A lot of good people here, but also very, very active. The police department has grown by quite a few officers. So when I worked the street, maybe a sergeant or supervisor and 3 or 4 officers, and we were incredibly busy.
The city's grown quite a bit. My daughter and husband live out in Reunion, And so, I mean, they've added all of that land out there by DIA. It's
Yes.
all part of Commerce City, yeah.
It's kind of funny because it's only been until this last year, and Mike used the words. I mean, to me, we've just always been in Commerce City, and now it's becoming we're in South Commerce City. You know, I mean, he used the words North Commerce City and South Commerce City, and it hasn't been until this year that I've heard that, and they're kind of breaking it into the industrial side and the more. I know there's obviously homes here. I mean, we're sitting here looking at blocks of homes right out our windows, but this is the industrial end of the city, as to where the northern end is just a little more housing, or it's Commerce City's goal is to be a little more friendly, I guess. Maybe that's probably not the right word as far as friendly.
Yeah,
but
they even voted they were going to change the name a few years ago. It didn't pass.
Where's the border between the north and the south? Where do you start considering North?
Oh, good point, Jam. I don't know.
Yeah, it used to be, I believe, the district boundary was 72nd Avenue. So
Okay, cool.
That would
I've
make
seen,
sense.
and definitely not dinging Commerce City, but I've seen a few felony stops. You know, just driving somewhere. When I mean by felony stop, the police officers, you know, got his car door open, weapon drawn. He's, you know, walk backwards to my voice. You know, get down on your knees. That I've seen that a few times here in Commerce City.
Wow.
Probably more than anywhere else that I've been.
Is that what they
Interesting.
say? Walk backwards to my voice?
Mike? Did you ever tell somebody that?
yeah, if it's a stop where we believe there might be weapons or violence involved, usually we try to set up where we have, you know, our car in between the people in the other car and us. Try to use a wall of light, and then we try to draw people back out of their car because, you know, we don't know what weapons or what we can't see that can harm us that's inside the vehicle.
Super Dave, you never walk backwards towards somebody's voice?
No.
That's because you've concentrated on the science part of your brain,
Right.
not the criminal side, Dave.
I was more
Yeah.
interested in rocks.
Well, and you mentioned the criminal side of your brain. We talk about that, right? Because we've had some things happen here over the 35, 40 years we've been here, and we've picked up the term. You have to think like a thief to be a thief.
Right.
If you don't think like that, you're not even aware of it. It's not even in your
Doesn't
brain.
occur.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it doesn't
yeah.
exist, right? And then you hear of something happening, and you learn the process that they went through, and it's like, wow, you have to think like that to create that, to do
Sure.
that.
Soup, I can't believe you haven't watched Breaking Bad. We've talked this. We've talked about this before. Just because somebody was mentioning you reminded them of the main character, Bryan Cranston,
Yeah.
and you have a science brain. So what are methamphetamines made out of? You know what I mean? Like, I think you would dig it. I think you might get hooked on that show. It's a good show.
Never watched it.
So as
I don't know if it's a good show, Jam, but it's entertainment.
Interesting.
It's
Yeah.
entertainment,
Yeah.
right? I wouldn't give it. It's a good show. It's entertaining for sure. I mean, I watched it. I was hooked on it.
okay, you were hooked.
I was hooked. Yeah,
There you go.
absolutely. But I don't know. It's not a good show, right?
Well, I mean,
It's not a family show.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
not that.
exactly, Mike.
Yeah,
It's
I
not
wouldn't.
something.
I wouldn't watch it at home with Bella, but I would
Yeah.
watch it
Yeah,
when I watch
right?
it.
Yeah.
So you're saying it's not a Hallmark?
No.
So also in Commerce City, you were a school resource officer. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Do you love doing that? Because I mean, obviously you love kids, and I know you're surrounded by kids all day if you're a SRO.
I really enjoyed my time as a school resource officer. Get to know quite a few of the kids, the teachers, the administrative staff, and really enjoy coaching and helping kids to develop.
Yeah, I was going to ask if you felt you had an impact on their lives. You know, where I grew up in Queens, New York, and we had a SRO, and we all loved him unless you were being chased by him. You know, if you were cutting out of school, like it was kind of like you're cool until you're trying to leave. He'll chase you. You know what I mean? Oh man.
Who was faster, Jim?
Well, he never caught me. I went to a pretty tough high school. I had a friend named his nickname was Slosh, right? And we were all cutting out of school one day, and we were booking it. And I can't remember if the principal or the vice principal grabbed him, and Slosh turned around and decked him.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, we were some scoundrels.
That probably didn't end well, did it?
He got away.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So what happens the next day?
You didn't go to school the next day.
or the next day, I mean, at some point you have to go back. That's always been my thought. Like,
honestly, Dave, I don't remember. I don't know that Slosh graduated high school. You know what I mean?
that may have been unlikely. Yeah, been the end of Slosh's high school career.
Yeah.
Could have been. Could have been. Let's see. Can you tell us? I know you were also a detective. Tell us a detective story that happened here at JFW. I know. Dave brought you in with some credit card.
Oh wow, that's a long time ago.
It is, Mike.
Dave, you're going to have to help. I remember we talked about you had an employee, if I remember right, that was had stolen a credit card and then used it, or
exactly, Mike. So we're going back like 30 years ago, 25
Well, I mean,
plus
it has
years
to be,
ago,
has to
right?
be early
Yeah.
in your.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
when
I
did you
was
make
here, so-
detective, Mike? Do you remember at Commerce City?
Oh man, let's see, it would have been maybe 93, 94.
We were in the old shop.
Yeah, that's what I
Right,
mean,
that we-
Dave. I
that
mean,
we
it had
tore
to be
down,
early because
so-
it wasn't because for you guys to become neighbors. That's quite a coincidence because you weren't
Yeah,
you weren't
yeah.
living by
Right.
each other.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I think we moved up there in 96 or 97, and we built this building in 2000.
2000, yeah.
So, I mean, it was late 90s, Mike. And, I mean, back then we only had, a dozen trucks. We didn't have 12 mechanics and a wash bay and all that stuff. So Jim and I would come to work in our regular clothes, and we just had some old, dirty, nasty clothes that we'd change into to get under a truck if a rear end went out or whatever, you know what I mean? And so we had one men's room and one women's room, and we happened to use the women's room because it was bigger, and we could hang we had a little coat rack, and we'd put our street clothes. We would just hang them there on the rack, and then we were just in these nasty clothes, right? They were so bad they didn't even get washed or whatever. Well, we wouldn't put our wallets in because you're laying on the ground and whatnot. And we had this fairly new gal working in the office, and it was just her and Mom. And you just trust people. We're just those type people that trust people, right? Well, Jim and I had changed clothes. We had worked on some stuff, clean up at the end of the day. You put your street clothes back on and you go home. And Jim happened to get with me, and he says, hey, he says, my credit card is gone. And he said, Holly got the bill, and she asked me, why did I buy alcohol on it happened to be Holly's birthday, and that's kind of what triggered the whole event. Jim didn't know the credit card was gone, and he's like, I didn't stop at the liquor store and buy alcohol. That's not, we just don't do that, right? We're together when that happens. And it turns out that there was a alcohol stop at a liquor store, and it was all up at the Walmart up off Washington and just south of 104th, whatever that one is, right?
Because there was the Walmart.
Yeah,
and
I'm
the
sorry.
hairspray.
Yeah. Walmart. There was hairspray, like a ponytail thing. And anyway, make a long story short, we're like, oh my gosh, we think the secretary took our credit card. And, Jim and I are pretty investigative people naturally, just because of our business and, possibly thinking we've been told something that didn't happen and whatnot. We've become that way. So we try and go to Walmart once we put all the pieces together and well, that's Walmart. They've got video, and Walmart kind of laughed us off like, oh, we dumped the video in 24 hours and we only have cameras on our people because we don't worry about the customers. It's our people that steal from us, right? Their own employees, right? And Jim and I are like, and I don't even know how I got to Mike other than a conversation.
Maybe you guys were already neighbors. Do you think?
Oh, we were, yeah.
Yeah, so
yeah,
it must have
so-
been so late 90s is when
Yeah.
that happened.
Yeah.
Because that's the reason you helped us, Mike, because you knew Dave.
Yeah.
Okay.
And all of a sudden, Mike, I remember you getting all excited, like, well, we need to come talk to her. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, what do we want this? And Mike's like, this is wrong, and anyway, he puts this mini sting together almost because this woman's boyfriend would drop her off. And then he would go down. Oh, and there was a men's ring in part of what was bought at Walmart, right?
Yeah.
And anyway, Mike comes in and he kind of sets this pretty elaborate deal up, right? And he's got a squad car waiting down the street to stop the boyfriend. He's here when she comes in, says, I want to talk to you, or comes in right after she's here, one of the two. Long time ago, right? And, she has the exact brand hairspray that was bought. She has the exact little ponytail hair holders, the little brush that was bought. And the key was, because I think it was $1 value. And again, I don't remember, Mike, just like you know what I mean? A lot of water under the bridge since then. But I think the key was to see if the boyfriend was wearing the ring. Because I think it was over like $100, and then it would be prosecute if and I'm a little cloudy on it as well, Mike. You know what I mean?
Crystal clear, amazingly.
Well, I've only seen one of those because it happened to us, right? You see them every day and have to deal with everyone, so they get a little foggy. I get it. Anyway, the boyfriend didn't have anything on, but definitely a shady character. And I remember Mike, talking to the woman, and she was basically like, I would never do that, and I can't believe you're accusing me of it. And anyway, make a long story short, Mike's like, this is a bad person. She shouldn't be working here. And if I remember right, he actually said, you shouldn't work here. And she's like, you're right, I shouldn't, and left. Yeah. And that was kind of how it ended. So we weren't able to prosecute anyone or solve any crime, even though that was the crime. It happened. You know what I mean? They were the guilty party. We just couldn't prove it. And that was kind of the start of Mike and I's relationship, I think, to a degree. Obviously, we knew each other, but it was cool, man.
Yeah, that was cool. I know people. And then he fired her, which is great. You didn't have to fire her.
Yeah.
You should have worked here.
Yeah. We invited Mike over there from then on. Will you get rid of them, Mike?
We might have to call you up here soon.
Yeah.
That's funny. And another story, and I should have addressed this earlier, but there was an ice cream story with Dave White as well. You want to tell that one, Mike?
Oh, you bet. I'm sure Dave will help me out. But we were new to our subdivision. There wasn't a lot of homes out there. And Dave, in his heart, he stumbled across the ice cream guy, which I have no idea why he was in our area. There was hardly any kids, any homes. And he pulled the guy over and handed him, a fistful of money. I don't remember, but $20 or more. Told him to drive down the block and make sure that whatever kids down there had their fill of ice cream. So being a police officer's daughter, my oldest daughter, Bailey, had been taught, that we don't talk to strangers. And she was the oldest in the group of several young kids. How old would she have been, Dave?
Oh, Mike, single digits, like 7, 8, 9, something like that.
Maybe a little younger, maybe 5 or 6.
Yeah.
And she was the oldest amongst this little tribe of kids hanging out and playing in the dirt.
It was one of their birthday parties. That was the reason there were so many kids there.
Yes.
I'm almost positive.
Yes.
Yeah.
So anyway, the ice cream guy comes down and pulls into the driveway and with a big group of kids, and all of a sudden Bailey gathers all the kids and screams, "Run!" And she scurries them into a house, and if I remember right, all the way to the basement, and is trying to get a hold of an adult. And the ice cream guy was freaked out, and so Dave finally calls down. Tells us what's been done, so we locate all the kids and get them out. And the ice cream guy said that he would stay there and hand out ice cream as long as my wife or I stood by. Not to be accused of anything.
Yeah, that's hilarious. What a good kid, though. Yeah. Run!
Right.
Yeah. With how, free ice cream off the ice cream truck from the ice cream man. If that's not a little...
I'm not falling for the free ice cream truck.
If that's not weird, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
They told me this was going to happen. That's funny. So moving along a little bit, in 1999, you went to Broomfield PD. You made sergeant in 2000, and you did some of the same stuff, patrol, detentions. You worked at the Flatirons Mall. You did traffic, some more school resource officer stuff, and investigations as a supervisor. So going to patrol in Broomfield, how did that compare to patrol in Commerce City?
Back when I first transferred over to Broomfield, it was extremely slow. Two completely different communities.
Right.
I learned how to police in a whole different way.
How so?
A lot more community engagement, a lot more just foot patrol and getting to know the business owners and stuff. You just back in the day did not have the time to do that at Commerce City when you're going call to call.
Yeah, I bet. And you're just talking about walking, doing foot patrol and getting to know business owners. I mean, is that still a thing in Broomfield?
It is, and it is in Commerce City, and
nice.
All different communities have really, I think, discovered how important it is to be one with your community and not only know, the Circle K, but know the clerks that work there and what their names are.
That makes sense.
Get that trust and involvement in your community.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, I remember growing up back in Queens, we really didn't like we call them, they would walk the beat. We'd call them the beat cops because they were quiet. You didn't see them coming. They'd sneak up on you. You know what I mean? What was the transition like for you to go from, a patrol cop doing these things to becoming a supervisor?
Really interesting, challenging. Not only are you responsible for the decisions you make, but then the decisions of all the people on your team. And like JFW, if it snowed out or it was cold, instantly you start thinking about how your officers are driving. You don't want to do the paperwork for one, for any accident, but and obviously the safety of everybody on any big calls where weapons were involved. You have everybody to consider in how you position them, and their families. You take all that in. That was my biggest fear, was to have someone that worked directly for me ever get seriously injured on my team. So but it was a lot of fun. A lot of fun to supervise, and had a lot of good opportunities to be mentored by commanders and people above me.
Nice. Did anyone ever get seriously hurt on one of your shifts?
We had an incident where we got in a high-speed pursuit that ended in Commerce City by one of the parks, and during the arrest, the officer that was at the bottom of the pile, because several family members piled out and got involved, had his career ending, if I remember right, but got his shoulder ripped up.
Wow, that's too bad.
That is.
And then how hard was it for you to gain respect of your equals when you made sergeant? Was it pretty easy?
For some, others it was a little more challenging.
Gotcha.
I had the opportunity to promote pretty quick at Broomfield. I was really blessed by the former chief there, Tom Deland, and gave me a lot of credit for my previous experience in Commerce City. And at first, supervising was a little challenging for some of the officers that have been there several years before me.
That makes sense. Absolutely. When I was looking for my cop joke, I came across a sergeant meme. So one sergeant says to the other sergeant, 1 week they hate us, 1 week they love us, the next week they hate us. So then the other sergeant says, well, guess what? We get paid for both weeks.
That is correct.
That's correct. So then it looks like and just this year in February you retired, but you're still involved, and you work for the standards unit, conducting background investigations, recruiting, and hiring. You are also certified in CVSA, which is
Computer Voice Stress Analyzer.
Right, so it sounds like a lie detector test to me. I'm sure. we
prefer to call it a truth verification device.
Truth verification device. Yes.
Yes. So, have you ever heard of the book or read the book Spy the Lie?
I have not.
Yeah, so it was written by a couple CIA people, and lying to me it's fascinating to me. And I'm not saying I've never lied, but it's, to me, like, if you lie, I mean, it's just bad. I rather be told the truth, and working here, we deal with that a lot. So I had bought this book, Spy the Lie, and it just talks about deceptive behaviors and what I learned from the book, and I want to know if this is true or not, but so there's deceptive behaviors, but just because somebody blinks doesn't mean they're lying, or just because they did one thing doesn't mean they're lying. But if you have 2 to 3 deceptive behaviors in like 30 seconds, that's an indication they're lying. Is there any truth to that, or is that a lie?
No, that's a trick question. So yeah, body language really does show deception, and there's science and training on that as far as like the angle of your eye after you ask the question. If you look up to the right and your heart rate, your brain waves, obviously, your sweat glands, so much go into it. The beautiful thing about the CVSA is it reads just the AM and FM in your voice. So when people get stressed, usually you get stressed when you lie.
Right. The
FM drops off, leaving just the AM, and that's what the computer program's able to read.
Is that the higher squeaky voice?
How do you do it?
I don't know what you're talking about.
So can I just interrupt?
Please,
what is the I mean, I know AM and FM, Mike. So what's the AM and FM in a voice?
Yeah, I didn't even know that existed.
Yeah, just like your radio station, AM, FM, your voice has AM to it and FM to it.
Really?
And there's a lot of science beyond that. But when the FM actually rides on top of the AM, and when people get stressed, and it's just like if I ask you a question that's just simple, your name, your address, it's like you're selecting a book off the shelf, right? It's easy to find, and you have the answer immediately. How the CVSA system works is if I ask you a question and you know you're going to have to make the answer up or lie about it, that book doesn't exist on the shelf. So you might try to get 2 or 3 books and put it together or whatever, but that's what causes the stress. That's what causes the FM to die out and leave just the AM. And the CVSA system will actually graph that. So
wow,
that's
how interesting.
Very, very basic. But yeah.
Very complicated, but basic.
Yeah, right?
Right?
How simple it is to really see if you're lying, right?
And that's all from technology.
Right.
Right?
So,
Someone has figured out that technology.
So through your years of law enforcement, though, would you rather rely on the computer or body language or both?
I would say both.
Yeah.
Trust your gut, right?
Would you be willing to hold hands with Super Dave and tell us if he's lying?
So some people do pass those tests and they're still lying, right?
Yeah. Can you trick it?
Yeah, exactly.
It's extremely tough to trick, but I'm sure it's been done. And just like a polygraph test, which is a lot more involved, it's a lot more sensory and a lot more to hook up. People, I'm sure, have beat it, but it's pretty rare.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I'm the guy that would just say, forget the test. I'm lying. Lock me up. I can't do this.
Or you just answer truthfully, right? I mean, you know.
Right.
Yeah. Super Dave, you would never fail. You would never fail that test. It's not in your blood to lie. And that's what I love about, the leadership group here is we could all be trusted. So let me ask you this, though, Mike. So you meet somebody, like you met me this morning, right? And we start chit-chatting.
Shady character.
I agree. That's exactly what I thought when I met Mike. But I still wanted him on the podcast anyway. So
Jam was like, wait a minute, we're bringing a cop in?
That detects lies. I'm out. I don't know if you could see my lie detector test going here, Mike. You haven't been doing very well. But you meet somebody, and I know you meet a lot of people for work because you're a recruiter, and you're the standards. You work for the standards unit. Like, this is our standard, and we have standards here, but I mean, there's got to be a hard line in the sand for Broomfield PD. So outside of work, though, you meet somebody, like you met Jim Dixon at the gym, right? And you're talking. Are you watching body language? Are you is it just like an unconscious competence for you to like watch people to tell if they're lying?
Wow, that's a good question. My wife would say that I cannot remove the cop out of me. Unfortunately, sometimes even as a father with adult kids. So just quick story. Years ago, I'm in Mexico and I'm walking the beach. And some guy starts screaming 5-0 at me, 5-0, 5-0. And I'm looking, I'm not wearing a T-shirt that says, I'm not wearing a hat that says anything about law enforcement. So, my wife is curious, and ultimately, she walks over and talks to this gentleman and says, "Why are you yelling 5-0?" And he said, "Well, because that's a police officer." And she goes,
Wow.
"Well, how can you tell? The way he's looking, the way he walks, everything." So sometimes it's a little bit too ingrained, I think.
That's crazy.
But the lying, getting back to the lying, like I understand, like you talk about situational awareness, and you told the ice cream story. So you go to the restaurant, obviously, you're probably in condition yellow, right, and you're checking things out. But when you're talking to people, do you assume that people lie to you? Because you probably get lied to a lot.
Given the situation,
Gotcha.
While you're doing work as law enforcement, unfortunately, I think most people, you start to be a little bit jaded.
Gotcha.
Why are you asking that so much, Sloshy?
My name's just been jammed. I'm just super curious. It's really interesting to me.
No, it is interesting, Jam. Yeah.
Reading the Spy the Lie book and talking about body language, I used to really watch my daughter a lot. You know what I mean? I mean, she was only 6, but I'm like, did you eat candy? You know what I mean? And wait for the answer, you're lying.
And the chocolate on her, probably.
Right. No, I didn't eat the chocolate.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. I love those little clips when you see them, right?
Good stuff.
So, Mike, does every candidate, how far into the hiring program is that candidate before they go through that, what was it, the CV?
Yeah, the CVSA.
CVSA.
So they usually are selected from their application process, and we look for the typical, some education and steady job history, stuff like that. But once they're selected, they'll go in and do an oral interview with the subject expert matters, like say it's communications. They'll interview for communication supervisors, and probably some of the dispatchers will also be on the board. Once they pass them along into backgrounds, then we'll conduct a day of pre-integrity type questions and do the CVSA at that time.
Gotcha. How hard is it to become a cop right now, as far as if they make it to you? You know what I mean? Like, I was just talking to one of our drivers, and his sister just got onto Jeffco, and she tried to get on Denver, and she got disqualified because he said she told him that she had we'll just call it an oral surgery, or something that required either Vicodins or Percocets for recovery, and they eliminated her because they wanted more time between when she had taken those prescribed narcotics to when she would be on the force. Is there any?
Wow.
Do you feel like that's a thing? Or is
right now, it's rough to recruit police officers for the street, and it seems like people to work communications. So if someone wanted to get into law enforcement, now is the best time that there has been in years. That exact situation, I'm not able to speak because a lot of times you don't have all the information.
Sure.
But usually if someone's done any type of what we consider hard drugs in the last 4 or 5 years, that would probably be a disqualifier.
Sure.
Not automatically, but we look at those things, and like I said, steady job history and obviously run-ins with law enforcement, that type of thing.
Or if you lied about it, you're done. You can't.
Yeah.
If you dropped your FM and you were just saying, you could just forget about it.
Yeah.
So now, as you say, the best time to try to become a cop, is it because of everything that's been going on with, we'll say, the peaceful protests, and it seems like cities aren't backing up the police departments as much, and cops are just under a lot of scrutiny when it comes to use of force and stuff like that?
Once again, these are my opinions, and
Right.
they don't necessarily reflect, obviously, the Commerce City or the Broomfield Police Department. But you are correct. It's hard.
Yeah.
It's You work through a lot of times on nights and holidays and work your kid's birthday. And you do the best you can given the situation. And sometimes, especially in this current culture, you're under a microscope. It's tough.
Yeah, it seems like, and I don't know about right now, but it seems like there's just a lot of there was a lot of squeaky clean candidates out there where somebody wasn't perfect. It was easy to eliminate them. Now, where maybe people don't want to be a cop, it's like, oh, well, you smoked marijuana 4 years ago. Okay, we'll take you.
That's a great example. Marijuana legalized in Colorado. Agencies don't allow their officers, obviously, to smoke marijuana because the effects can carry over and affect their job. But with that said, it's hard to find candidates that have not smoked marijuana, sometimes even recently. So a lot of departments are lowering the standards and saying maybe within the last year or the last 6 months that you haven't smoked or used marijuana.
Wow, 6 months. Yeah, things have probably changed quite a bit. And then have you noticed, since the doors are kind of opening up a little bit and things are a little looser from what you're describing, not what Broomfield PD is describing, are you looking at some of these candidates like, man, I can't believe you're actually sitting here with me right now?
I've had a few candidates that were passed on through the testing process that I was amazed.
Oh, wow.
That we didn't end up hiring them because they couldn't quite get through a background. But
Gotcha.
it's once again with even communications. You have a position where people work through the middle of the night, holidays, weekends, and it's just tough to recruit for those positions.
Yeah, we noticed me and Dave were someplace, and I think it was for the Denver Sheriff's Office, wasn't it, Dave, over here, that they had that sign up?
Oh,
anyway,
yeah.
They
Yes.
had the amount of starting pay, Mike, and me and Dave were like, I wouldn't work that job for that starting pay.
Right.
Why would you want to do that? I mean, you're putting your life on the line. The
Come
culture
drive
that's
for
out,
us, you'll make more.
right? The culture that was out there, Mike, that it has to be difficult, to recruit people.
Well, it's funny you should say that because a lot of agencies are now offering signing bonuses. So they're giving, $10,000 signing bonus once you get through your field training program. They've raised the pay for a lot of different police departments. A lot of the standard agencies are paying for laterals to come over at almost their top step, which is, a basic officer completely topped out at the top step is about $100,000 in some of the agencies. So, and the requirements for a lot of agencies have decreased where you could have a high school diploma. And we have a situation now called a sponsorship. So we'll hire you and then we'll pay for you to go to a police academy. We'll pay you a salary while you're at the police academy, which was almost non-existent when I started. And I think that's kind of helped recruiting where, let's say someone has not had the opportunity to go to college and they've worked at a warehouse their whole life, but a good steady and have good background. And we would pay for that person to go through the police academy, get all their training, and jump on board.
Sure. Do you have enough applicants, Mike, for Broomfield?
No. We're struggling a little bit to hire, but not near what some of the other neighboring agencies are. Maybe down as many as a fourth of their manpower.
Sure. Wow. I had called and talked to you or texted, I think, I can't remember which, about, I can't think of Mike's last name that was running for Adams County Sheriff.
Oh, McIntosh?
Yeah, Mike McIntosh, Mac. And we had went and had lunch with him prior to the conversation you and I had. And it was in some other context and stuff and just getting to know him and whatnot. And he said Adams County is short. Do you remember how many sheriffs, Jim?
I don't, Dave, because there was some in the jail and there was some in sheriff.
Wasn't it over like 25? I'm trying to remember the number, and I'm hesitant to even say a number.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have.
Yeah.
It was significant, right? It was significant, Mike. Like if Jim and I were running JFW and we were short 25 drivers, it would be crisis mode for us, right? But then on the other hand, Mike told us he's currently working in Douglas County, correct,
County.
Jim?
Yep.
And they were short one guy for the jail, I think.
Yeah, I think maybe that's where the conversation about the jail.
Yes.
And we, of course, me and you asked, Dave, and I know that's where you're going.
Right.
We asked why, Mike, and he said their culture there compared to Adams County is totally different. The respect the community gives
That's
them,
it right there.
and the respect the officers have for the community and stuff like that, and where he was working is totally different than Adams County. But that was part of the reason he wanted to go back to Adams County and be sheriff and make that difference, make that connection between the community and his officers and stuff. So yeah,
Right.
Yeah, and we never understood this, and it's funny when you don't know something, you don't know what you don't know, right, Mike? And I didn't understand this, but Adams County, and obviously you know this, but they should be the top of the pyramid for every, I'll call it district if that's the right word, but every police agency in Adams County they should be working with, and Adams County should be like, I'm going to call it the top of the pyramid. If that's
the pinnacle, because they have Northglenn, Thornton, all
Westminster,
those,
yeah,
Westminster,
all of those. I'll say under them, Commerce City or whatnot, and it's not who's in charge. But they should be the communication liaison, because if everyone is reporting to them, and again, I don't know if that's all the right verbiage, but if there's a muffler sting happening in Commerce City and in Westminster, Adams County needs to know that, because they're the communication key between those two. Instead of those two working with each other, they should be working with Adams County. And that was Mike's big thing, is he said years ago, we were great at that. And he said, now we're not. So crime everywhere is skyrocketing. Is that like true, Mike? Did I describe that right, or am I way off? Did I misunderstand?
I think you're right. The communication is such a key. We have different subject matter experts. Let's say you're a property detective. There's different groups that meet in the metro area that talk about, let's say, catalytic converter thefts. That's huge right now, moneymaker for thieves. Stolen motor vehicles, there's a group called Cat-Eye, and so communication is huge. I think the most frustrating thing is it doesn't seem like the crime and the penalty equal anymore. For example, is motor vehicle theft now being a misdemeanor, and fentanyl being decreased to a misdemeanor despite how dangerous it is. So I think a lot of police officers get a feeling that their job is more catch and release, and that a lot of people that are doing very serious crime, there's no real consequence or penalty until they're caught so many times or they do a crime of violence. So I think that is a big problem with morale with different police departments and specific officers.
Wow.
That would have to be rough, because in my eyes, the whole goal is to catch the bad guy. You catch them and they're just let go. How frustrating.
Yeah, the goal is to make them pay so they can.
Yeah.
I mean, so it deters them, I guess, from doing it again or something.
Right.
Yeah, and if you look at the auto thefts, I mean, cars aren't cheap.
No.
And some people work their whole lives to have that kind of car or have a nicer car or anything like that, and to have that stolen and violated, it's just a misdemeanor. Yeah, it's not.
Yeah, and here we go. This is episode 59, and here we go making the turn back to political, because our legislators make these rules, right, or get things signed into law that's the reason why. I mean, if we were tougher on crime, maybe we wouldn't have as much crime.
Right.
Right?
Yep.
So, yet we don't get a vote on that, right? As individuals or as people that live here, we don't get a vote on that.
We did get to vote.
Well, we got to vote on who votes on it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a raw deal. My mom just actually texted me here. She was just watching the news and said, just saw in the news that CPC module thefts are rising. So criminals are actually stealing the computer units out of big trucks right now. Yep.
Yeah.
Because you can't get them anywhere,
Right.
so they're stealing them and
Right.
either putting them in their trucks or selling them to somebody who needs them.
I bet.
Yeah. Well, the ones we had, here, Dave, correct me if I'm wrong, but we had one or two go out none available here, and nobody to fix it. We shipped it to Europe,
France or something,
to England,
and had it fixed and brought it back. And I know I've brought it up that, we're supposed to be this big badass nation and we can't even fix a computer here.
Yeah. Right.
We have to ship it away. That just bothers me.
It's frustrating.
Yep.
Not the greatest country on earth.
Nope.
Well, I still think we're the greatest.
Well,
Who's
I
better?
hope we are.
We
Who's
have
better?
a lot of great people. We have a
Yes.
lot of great people,
Yeah,
Jim.
we got problems. You know what I mean? But we're still the greatest country. I wouldn't want to live in a different country.
I agree.
No, if you want to talk to somebody, talk to George.
Right.
When he described
boy.
rolling blackouts, they just shut the power off in South Africa for 2 hours, and whatever you're doing, you better try to get someplace where you don't need like gas.
Yeah,
he said, if you need gas and you're in the 2 hour blackout, you just sit there until the pumps come back on.
Isn't
and he
that
said,
California? Was he California or South
"Oh, you just
Africa?
start your generator in California."
Same thing.
He said 2 hours a day, 4 times a day.
Yeah, 4
right?
times a day.
Oh,
That's
wow.
not all day.
He said,
Right?
he said the theft, he said, because he had a name for our pickups. They're not called pickups there. But he said if you had something in the back of your pickup, they would like steal it while you were at a light
Oh, wow.
and then run.
That's New York.
Yeah.
That's New
Yeah,
York.
that is New York.
Mike, anything else you want to talk about in regards to your career, Broomfield PD? You want to do a shameless plug for police candidates or?
Well, we are accepting applications.
There you go.
Love for you to apply. Now, I once again, I just appreciate the opportunity to meet with the White brothers in the JFW company, and it's been a lot of fun. Thank you.
Yeah, we're not done yet. We're just done with your segment, so please feel free to voice your opinions throughout the rest of the podcast.
Jump in there.
I
Mike.
actually have come up with a couple questions that
Oh,
aren't on here, so
let's go.
I'm kind of
I
curious,
love it.
Mike. And so we put cameras in our trucks almost 3 years ago now. About 6 or 8 months ago, we switched the cameras we had, Mike. And what it did is it took the old camera setup that we had. We were reactive. And what I mean by that is, say you're sitting at an intersection and one of our trucks blows the red light. Our camera didn't notify us of that, right? It took a person sitting at the red light to call us and go, hey, your truck blew this red light, almost killed my family, whatever the case, right? And we could then go process the footage and figure it out. Well, now this other camera system that we've got, we've become proactive because it notifies us. It's got artificial intelligence in it. It knows whether they have the seatbelt on, whether they're going too fast in a zone we have set up, or if we're following too close. And so it's raised our bar so far, Mike. It is night and day, and it was pretty much day one of the old camera system. Yes. And we had a driver lie to us, and he happened to break down in the middle of the day. He had a flat tire or something, and he come to the yard here. And Jam happened to go out and ask him, hey, there's something wrong with the inside of your camera. It like there's an instant of footage and then it's blacked out. Are you putting something over it? And he goes, no, I'm not doing that. And as he was leaving our yard, Jam happened to be getting out of his vehicle. It was 100% coincidence, Mike. And he saw the driver like fiddling with the camera. And then he saw Jam and went right back to his seat. And Jam goes, hey, did you just mess with the camera? And he goes, no, absolutely not. And it kind of became almost a bit of a shouting match to a degree, not anything crazy. It was like, you think I'm lying? I'm not lying to you. You just called me a liar, is what the guy's saying. And Jam's like, yeah, I'm calling you a liar. Jam didn't have any CVSA instrument either, Mike. So we didn't know what his FM or AM frequency was. But anyway, it was such a new system. It literally was like day one. Jam and I, we didn't know how to download it. Yeah. We're out there, we're taking like the SD card out. We got to prove this guy. It's like, it was a moment for us, right? And come to find out, Mike, we had the footage right there on the camera because it's on camera of him putting a piece of electrical tape right over the camera and lying to us, calling us the liar, accusing him of lying. And it was so gratifying, which sounds terrible. It sounds terrible, but to catch someone in a bold-faced lie, have the video of it and go, you're fired, buddy. Go find success elsewhere. We don't accept that. And I guess what I'm leading up to, my whole question is in the story is, does Broomfield have body cams?
We do.
Okay.
And we've had them for several years. And yeah, most officers really like them because it's usually indisputable. You get a complaint and the officer or someone complains, officer said something or did something. Usually the body cam footage will show and make the situation very easy. I think where it's a little bit tricky is sometimes situations happen and unfold in the middle of the night with very limited lighting, stuff like that. Sometimes the camera may capture more than the human eye. The lighting may be better on the camera than what's seen. So there's a few things. But overall, I think the cameras have added a level of accountability, professionalism to law enforcement. And like I said, I think most police officers really enjoy having them.
Yeah, you're about to say the same thing, Dave, or
yeah, same thing.
It's funny, like all
that's
of us are on it, like we
that's
can't wait to
exactly
talk.
what it's done for us, Mike, is what you just described, except it's done that with us driving.
Right.
It's made us accountable. It's solved the situation. It's either they did this or we did that, and yeah,
and you can't beat the evidence in court is just when you have a situation and you could play the video on exactly how the situation went down for the jury or the judge.
sure, yeah.
Yeah, we went from, maybe one or two people quit when we got the cameras to, people throwing fits about them to, one of our biggest opponents of the cameras, his camera broke and it was going to take like a week to get him a camera. And he was like, so I'm driving around unprotected. Like he bought in.
I'm driving naked.
Yes,
basically.
he bought into it so much. He wanted the camera. And I feel like most of our drivers do. There's still some guys that don't love it, but it's become a non-issue. Dave, in your hiring experiences right now, I mean, are the cameras, do you even bring the cameras up anymore?
I do. Yeah, I point them out the minute we get in the truck, and I go through, the explanation of why and how it protects us and how ultimately you will love it. It will become your friend because it protects you as a driver. But I'll tell you what, Jam, 99% of the people I talk to, it's nothing new.
Right.
They've had them for a while.
It's a standard.
It is, yes.
Yeah. We have these culture interviews in the mornings, Mike, with not every morning, but any new employee that's been here, 2 or 3 weeks, we try and meet with in the morning and just introduce ourselves, be sure we're all on the same page, how their experience has been so far, and just all these different things. And everyone, we kind of have this. It's almost like a round table thing. Dave's there, Jam's there, Jim and I are there, and one of us will ask about, are you in our 401k, and do you have our health insurance, and these other things. And one of us always gets to the cameras, and we almost get the same exact thing every time. That at first they didn't like him, but it has made them a better driver. Because if you're following too close, the voice comes right on and says you're increase following distance, and it gives them the awareness, and it has made us a better company because of that. So that's good to hear that the majority of the police people think that as well. And it is right or wrong. An incident is cut and dry. If we made a mistake, it's right there, black and white or in color on camera. This was our fault, and it's kind of nice with the insurance company. We're guilty or innocent. Boom, it's done. Like they either know, hey, we owe for the damage on this car, or hey, that isn't what happened. We had a case. We had a woman run out in front of us on Highway 85, like literally trying to play Frogger, jumping in front of the truck.
Wow,
Commit suicide.
Yeah, trying to commit suicide, and it's so frustrating. The people that are in that frame of mind, they're obviously need help, right? I mean, we don't even need to say that, but the police basically wrote it off as it was in the middle of COVID, and they literally called it a COVID-induced psychosis, Mike, is what they said.
Wow.
And she had some problems with her family, and I mean, she literally climbed up the embankment, ran across the on-ramp, and luckily it was the on-ramp, so the car that was coming on the on-ramp was able to stop because they weren't going 65 miles an hour yet. Our truck had you come over, it's right in Brighton, right as you go over Highway 7, where the roundabouts are, right? And you just, it's a little bit of an uphill. You go over the bridge and a little bit of a turn, and you start down the hill where the on-ramp is getting on, going northbound right there. And she literally our truck saw her, moved from the slow lane to the fast lane as he was hitting the brakes, and she jumped in front of him then in front of the fast lane, and he, this whole time he's just stopping as hard as he can, and then he jerks the wheel at the last minute and barely bumps her with a front corner. But I mean, this is a 30,000-pound truck hitting a human being, right? Mm-hmm. Probably at what speed, we don't know. Probably 30 miles an hour or more at that point.
She still broke some things.
Yeah. I think she had it. I mean, they were saying she was lucky, right? I think it was a broke pelvis or leg or something. And, you have those things happen. And so nice to be so clear. Our driver was doing everything right. He wasn't on the phone. He wasn't distracted. He tried to move out of her way. She came over. She's literally looking at the truck, stepping in front of it. Yeah. I mean, it was pretty surreal, and driver did an amazing job. So it was, I guess all I'm getting at is there's that reassurance. There's that balance. Yeah. A, we did everything right. B, we have the proof. It isn't a he said, she said, anything like that, Yeah,
it's so nice to respond. Well, it's not nice responding to accidents, but when you respond to them and you have a video of what happened and you get there and the car, the four-wheeler's lying, right? They're not telling the truth about it, and you just show the cop the video, and it's like, oh, cool.
Yeah. Yeah, one of the funnest stories about that jam was down on Santa Fe when, I don't even remember who the driver was, but he hit a kid driving his dad's car, and the kid was like, you hit me. And,
and remember that jam? Yeah,
I remember that. You came down and had the video and say, officer, would you like to see the video? And the dad showed up, and he railed on the kid. You're never driving my car again.
The dad was like, that isn't what he said, right?
It was great.
Yeah, like I talked to the cop, and then the cop told the dad, and then the dad approached me like, can I see that video? Yeah, absolutely. And he's watching it. What was he thinking?
Wow, how beneficial as owners of a company to be able to have that.
And
great
to have
technology.
And to have our people like it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the cool thing. Where we thought it was really going to be a problem has become a real game changer. So
not to interrupt, it has to be for the police officer too, though, Mike. I mean, to be accused, I mean, you're already possibly a bad guy, so you're going to be more likely to lie. And here it is, all on film, and how the officer handled himself has to be awesome for the officers.
It is, and to do the standards supervisor and to do the investigation is really easy. To say, hey, why don't you come in and we'll take a look at the video together. And I'm not aware of any times the people actually come in, because at that point in time,
right?
That's and it
so
is.
So you're involved in that, Mike. You're not just in the hiring side. That's part of the standards as well.
It's part of the standards, not my business.
Okay.
But, and it has worked before where the officer has made a mistake, and was in the wrong, and it's pretty clear.
Yeah, but hopefully it's a learning point, not something so serious that they lose their job or something, but it's a learning point.
Correct.
Makes you better.
Yeah. The last thing I had, and I don't even know what I'm asking exactly, but a year or two ago, Mike, there was a law that was changed, and I don't know if it was in the state or all the cities or how that works, but as a police officer, you're protected by your city or whatever agency you're working for, by that agency, from being sued personally. And now you can be sued personally. Right?
Yeah, I think you're talking about House Bill 217 that was brought in, and it removed some of the liability insurance that was covered for police officers for the acting under the color of the law. I don't have all the specifics. It has changed, I think, how police officers do business. With the House bill, it also restricted the activity that police officers are allowed to do. It used to be if someone looked suspicious, you would automatically, that was kind of your duty, your job to go contact them. This is tighten things down a lot, where you have to pretty much have someone in the commission of a crime, either right before or right after, before you do that contact. So, yeah, in my humble opinion, definitely not for the better, for trying to decrease criminal activity.
Yeah. So that is a statewide thing.
It is. It's statewide.
So it doesn't matter
Colorado.
what, you could work for Commerce City, for State Patrol, doesn't matter.
Correct.
Gotcha.
Correct.
Gotcha. Do you, I mean, in just your personal opinion, did that help us or hurt us?
Oh, my personal opinion, if you're a criminal, it definitely helped you.
Right.
That's,
Right.
yeah. Because you're probably not going to be contacted in the same situation as before that law was passed.
Gotcha.
Yeah, not to make light of the situation, but your little ice cream truck, you were suspicious, Dave. Mike could have contacted you. Now he can't.
You know, I mean, we talk about this all the time about stereotyping, right? And I mean, we teach our kids, you don't stereotype someone, you know. Ray, our guest last week, right? I mean, Mike, if you were to see him, you would automatically stereotype him, right? I mean, he's got some tattoos on his face, and I mean, he fits the bill, but I mean, truly, he's been here over 2 years now, and I mean, he is literally the nicest guy in the world. Has he come from nothing? Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, he's I don't want to say paid his dues, but he's paid his dues, right? He's learned right from wrong. He's made mistakes, and he's better for that now. But there's some other characters that may look like that haven't, right? So we teach our kids, hey, you see somebody walking down the street like that, you might want to cross the street or be cautious or whatever. And I'm not dinging Ray. I love him, man. I was back yesterday and he came in the office, gave me a hug because I was gone last week, you know. He's that type guy. But I guess what I mean is to stereotype someone for your safety.
Well, I would say it's more the behavior than the hair or tattoos or anything. It's the behavior. It's why is someone walking through a parking lot at 2:00 in the morning when it doesn't look like they're really going to anything specific or waiting for someone other than, you know, a criminal activity to case cars or whatever. And why is someone, when they walk every third step, kind of grabbing their right front pocket, like adjusting, you know, which, you know, typical if someone was, you know, adjusting a weapon or something. So I would say, more of the behavior is what the officers are trained to look at. Vehicles parked a certain way at night. Why is a car parked in a field, you know, at the middle of the night with nothing around it? You know, is it stolen? Are they there doing drugs? You know, that type of activity.
Gotcha.
So
okay.
So, something that's bothered me lately, Mike, and maybe you can help me out on this. But all the mass shootings, you know, whether it's at a Walmart now or you know, your church event or different stuff like that. And like my middle daughter, she's still single, so she's not usually with her husband or a boyfriend. She's with a group of girls. And I always try to tell them, hey, watch out, be aware of this, try to look for this, try to look for that. And I think there was another one at Walmart back east or something like that, and you know, then I think of Holly out shopping. She's the one that does all the food and grocery shopping, you know, over me. Right. And I'm like, what do I tell her to watch for? How can you protect yourself in that situation when you talk about the other things? You know, they're not going to be out at 2:00 in the morning in a vacant, you know, in a parking lot, Mike. Correct. You know what I mean? But this is, you know, try to be aware of your surroundings. Look out. Look at people, I guess, is what I try to teach them.
I mean, is that even an option, Jim? And I guess, we had some downtime last week at that swim meet, and our hotel room had Showtime. There's a series on Showtime. I mean, I don't have cable, so I don't have Showtime, but there's a series on cable right now that you can watch, and it's about all the mass shootings. And they started with Columbine. They did the Aurora City, or I always say Aurora City, but the Aurora Theater shooting at the theater, they went over the Pulse nightclub in Florida. I mean, the shootings were endless, Jim. Mm-hmm. All these mass killings, you know, the King Supers here in Boulder, the other stuff. And how do you prepare for that? You know, I know at the schools, Mike, the SROs, obviously Columbine didn't have an SRO, I would guess, way back in the day. I mean, that was in 99 when we were building this building. I mean, it was one of those moments like when the shuttle blew up. You remember where you were at, right. You know, and it was...
I mean, if they did, they weren't. You wouldn't expect that. I wouldn't have expected that as a.
I think as a society, especially in the schools, we're starting to develop a much better. I know as supervising the school resource officers, if there's any type of a threat, even if it's something as simple as something written, school shooting on Friday on the bathroom wall, how we investigate it, how thorough we are, how we take any threat serious until we determine it's not serious. There's a lot of systems in place where, even a couple of years ago, we would not take the threat so serious because obviously you have to. But I think there's a procedure or a system you put in place where if someone's on social media and they're making threats, no longer do we look the other way. We contact them. We talk to parents. We talk about, do they have access to weapons, all that. So there's different things. But if you look at some of the shootings, there was signs there, not all of them, but there was signs there, but some system broke down. They didn't properly follow through. The Florida incident at the high school, that kid was a threat, and not all the right systems went in place to make sure he wouldn't have access to come back to the school. And then even when he did come back to the school, people talked themselves out of doing the immediate reporting. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Hard.
Any suggestions for like my daughter? I know I'm kind of putting you on a spot, or my wife. I mean, because the school shootings are terrible anyway. But I don't have school age kids anymore. Luckily, I guess. I mean, both your daughters are out doing some stuff. The one's about to be a nurse, and all that kind of stuff.
We just had a friend, Jim. Danny reached out to me from Diversified and asked how safe are the schools there at Adams 12. Because they're looking at putting their daughter, she's just their first kid. They have two. First one going to go to school, and he's thinking about putting them in private school just because of the sheer safety aspect of private school versus public. And I reassured him about Adams 12 that I never one time through grade school, junior high, or high school with Sam felt like there was a safety issue. I felt secure about that. But you're right. What else? How do you prepare them at King Soopers? How do you prepare them at Walmart? How do you prepare them wherever it could happen?
Jim, I think you said it best. I mean, you obviously can't prepare for everything. Situational awareness is huge. Where do you park? Who you park next to? Are you paying attention when you get out of your car? When you're shopping, are you kind of looking around? Are you aware if there's any type of threat or incident? Where's the exits? How quickly can you get out of the building thinking non-traditional? And if there is a threat in the store, do you have to run past it to go out the front? Or can you run through the employee entrance in the back to get out? Different thoughts like that. And it's that situational. You can't prepare for everything. But, I talk to my daughters all the time. My daughter walking to and from, her nursing school, and what's in your hand? Do you have some type of weapon in your hand? What do you do if someone approaches you and starts trying to talk to you, and you have no idea who this person is? Are you comfortable in screaming out loud or drawing attention to yourself? Are you comfortable turning around and walking back the exact same direction you came from to avoid that contact? So different things like that.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Mike. Good tips.
Yeah, great tips.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've tried to teach them that, but it's just the next worry of being a dad or a husband.
It's all of us fear that our loved one would be attacked or hurt by some type of violent incident. Yeah.
So you have two grandsons now.
I do. Yeah.
Would you
Asher and Tucker?
Oh, very cool names. That's very cool. When they get to the age, Mike, what would you think if they went into the police field? I mean, would you advise them not to or to?
That's a tough question because law enforcement has been so good to me and provided a lot of really neat things in life. But if I'm being dead honest, I would hope that they would choose a different career unless things in society change.
Yeah.
Great answer.
Yeah.
Jim or Soup, you got any questions for Mike?
No, just I know we're not done yet, but thanks, Mike. Good, good having you on.
Great stuff.
So nice to be here. Thank you.
Moving on to questions from the audience. Uncle Freddie wants to know why the port in Fort Collins has no digital readout It's got the banner or whatever you want to call it. It has
The display?
The display, but it's not working. He thinks that's unfair. He wanted us to contact Sergeant Greninger about it, but Sergeant Greninger doesn't have anything to do with the ports.
Well, they're under the state patrol. That changed several years ago. The people working at the ports of entry are state patrolmen.
Well,
so maybe that's a conversation, because I mean, he is a DOT officer. I think that's worth an
He could at
email.
least probably point us in the right direction
Yeah.
for sure. I mean, I would just ask in the port.
that's what I would do.
Why isn't the display working?
Well,
obviously they have it. I mean, my guess is,
It's not hooked up yet.
yeah, I'm
Yeah,
dumbing it
'cause
down,
they
right? I
just
mean,
redid
it's
both of those
broke
ports.
or whatnot. Yeah,
I
I
Can't
don't
get
think
parts.
it's on purpose. Yeah,
Can't get labor to hook it up.
yeah.
You know,
Right.
Yeah.
And then Martinez just sent me a question. Here it is. Why are some of our trucks having transmission faults, and why are we having a hard time fixing these issues? I find it dangerous when we are loaded and coming down the mountain. Great question.
That is a great question, and welcome to the supply chain world faux pas. Right? Who was that asked? Andrew
Martinez.
Andrew Martinez.
No.
Mike.
Tony.
Tony, I mean, yeah.
Taquito.
Oh, Tony Martinez. Gotcha. So, Tony, I agree with you 100%. It is damn dangerous. It sucks. It's miserable. I know you just had an issue with it like a month ago and had to scurry off I-25 to the shoulder just to do the reset. So we have 3 transmissions broken right now. The component is called an MTM. If you're bored and want some education and want to come over here, we have the complete MTM. It's the whole top half, the shifting components of the transmission, and there are none available. Period. End of story. There are none available. We can't get them to give us a new transmission, a replacement transmission, just because of sheer availability. And believe you me, we've been able to circumvent, and when I say we, it's been mainly Mike in the shop, Mikey. He has become a guru of thinking outside the box, right? If we need a component, he's able to get it somewhere. We've been able to mastermind, brainstorm, come up with whatever. We have 3 transmissions out. It's the MTM. It's the first M stands for like monochromatic or something like that, transmission module. So it's the brain, it's the solenoids, it's the shift forks, it's all one component. Now it's comprised of several components, and it's a very technical piece. And the only reason why I say it's a technical piece is Eaton Transmission or PACCAR or Cummins or whatever you want to call it, because that was a joint venture creating that. They took and just rebuilt 40 of them, Tony. 3 worked. They just rebuilt 40 of them, and 3 worked. We've got so many trucks broke down right now, Tony, that we can't get parts for, or we have parts coming that are en route. Like one truck has a blown transmission or a blown engine. To get that engine out, we have to pull the transmission. Mike literally took the transmission out of that truck and took it to Peterbilt and put it in another truck just to get that truck up and going while we're waiting for the engine to come in. I mean, he's putting puzzle pieces together all day long to try and get trucks up and going. It has been crazy. We just had 2 brand new trucks delivered. One is here. The other one, what truck did Gilbert Benny take? 0047?
No, he's in 68, I think.
Yeah, it was
new 68.
New
okay.
68, yeah.
So he drove the truck 3 days. It had 1,900 miles on it, and the diff went out in it. We just found out yesterday, Kenworth at the factory put in 5 wrong differentials.
Wow.
That was one of the trucks.
Wow.
So again, to keep you guys working and productive, Mike took one of the brand new trucks here that's not in service, took the differential out of it, put it in Gilbert's truck so Gilbert could keep trucking, took that differential that was broke over to MHC Kenworth. We're still waiting on one to be delivered. Now we have the new truck ready to go in service, and we had to tear the differential out of it. So we don't have anything available. And Mike's going round and round with MHC Kenworth going, hey guys, where's my diff? I need a diff. This truck, we just spent $180,000 on a truck we stole parts off of. So Tony, I great question. I wish I had a better answer for you. We are in the middle of a supply chain fiasco.
Nightmare.
I mean, it is. I would almost tell you it's worse now than 12 months ago or 20 months ago. It's getting worse, and what you would think would be common or available just isn't. And it is. If you think it's frustrating on your end, you ought to be trying to make truck payments on trucks you can't run because we don't have parts for them. It is 100% frustrating. So that's about the best answer I can get for you. The rest of the stuff, we've been pretty creative in working around and, getting parts for, or used parts, or, we had a situation on an air dryer on one of the Freightliners that air dryer wasn't available. And it's like, we had one of our guys in the shop going, hey, Freightliner doesn't have this air dryer, the truck's going to be down. And when Mike got wind of it, Mike's like, well, let's find a different air dryer. Why do we have to have that one? Let's redo the system, put this air dryer on it. It functions the same, but it's instead of brand Y, it's brand X, right? And, we had to retrofit the whole truck. And this is a brand new truck under warranty that was going to be down for an air dryer. So, kudos to Mikey behind the scenes that no one sees. He spends most of his day hunting down parts.
He does. And it's something as essential as an air compressor.
Right.
You can't get the air compressor for 0040.
Right. Yeah.
National back order.
Yeah,
unbelievable.
Not that it makes a whole lot of difference, Dave, but mechatronic,
yes, transmission module.
Yep.
And it's
MTM.
the shift plate on the top.
Yeah. And it is, you call it just a shift plate, which I was calling it a shift plate. What it is called a shift plate. But you see it sitting on the desk over there, and you go, oh my God, that's a shift plate. I mean, it's got the forks, the computers, the base of it, the modules in it.
Yeah, I think they call it mechatronic because it looks like something off Megatron from Transformers.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a pretty crazy component. So, Tony, I'm sorry. I apologize to all you guys that are having to do the little shut the truck off trick or undo the battery trick, or and so much of this, you guys, is this is due to our pollution stuff. I know we've done the transmissions because they're lighter and we get more fuel mileage, but again, that's down to pollution, and it all works hand in hand. So yeah.
And the thing is, you just mentioned it. We barely have any trucks here that's over 30 months old, Dave.
Yeah,
and we've tried to make the fleet better. We've tried to give all of you guys and gals better equipment, and then we're faced with this. That the new stuff isn't working, and then on top of it, you can't get parts for it to replace it. I mean, wow!
Right.
Just talk about a kick. It hurts.
Safety topic of the week, Jim. You want to take this topic? And that would be cell phone use.
What are you talking? Yeah, phone. Is it phone use? Is that the topic?
Oh yeah.
Should I read what everybody signs?
Yes.
When they hire on with us,
I would love
that. Just to go over it, because we gotta get up on the soapbox here, because we had an accident a year ago from a cell phone, same kind of circumstances where we were sitting in traffic and thought it was okay to look at the cell phone, and took the cell phone and let off the brakes and rolled forward and hit a car, and then kept pushing the car.
Yeah, because we were so close to it, it disappeared in the hood, so the driver didn't even stop. He just looked up.
And couldn't feel it with the automatic transmission, because we've made them so good to pick up a load and go on. And the one we had the other day was same situation, in traffic, stopped, reached up and looked at their phone that was mounted on the dash, and rolled backwards and rolled into a car and damaged a car. So just to read this, that you guys all sign this, you guys, is
wait before you read that, Jim, how did we roll back into a car with, because all the trucks have roll control on them,
right? You have urge to move, and you have hill assist,
hill
right?
Start assist, right?
So hill assist doesn't kick in, and I'm making this number up, 7% grade,
exactly,
10% hill, whatever. It has to be a hill that the truck feels you're really going to roll back on, so the hill assist kicks in and locks the brakes up, feels that, okay? So that's a safety feature. Also, in all the transmissions, we have an urge to move mode also. So when you release the brakes, the truck automatically starts to go forward or in reverse. But sitting in the traffic or stopped, if you have your foot on the brake where there's enough pressure that the transmission goes, oh, you have the brakes on, but I don't need to go in gear, but not enough brake pressure to apply the brakes to stop you from rolling in either direction. So, again, the driver is stopped, has the brakes applied, but not enough pressure, not a least amount of pressure, enough pressure to hold the truck still or kick in the transmission. Perfect storm. Everything we've tried to get rid of, and the perfect storm happens, and the truck rolls back and hits somebody, which, it has to be pretty scary for the person that the truck's rolling back, because how many times have we all been in an intersection behind a car, behind a truck, behind whatever, and that person starts to roll back,
right?
And you're like, stop, because you can't go backwards,
right?
And it's absolutely helpless situation. So, hey, just for everybody, and every one of you signs this, whether you're an old employee, new employee, it doesn't matter. So to all employees, it is mandatory that all drivers read and understand the summary of the federal restriction on handheld use of cellular phones for CDL drivers. The JFW Corporation company policy is in line with the federal law that prohibits the use of handheld phones. So here's the thing, guys. JFW Corporation prohibits the use of handheld phones, smartphones, tablets, and laptop computers at all times unless the vehicle is parked in a safe location with the parking brake applied. So both the instances we've had with the cell phone, you're not parked, you're not in a safe location, and the brakes aren't applied.
Aren't set,
right? So we've this whole thing that what's your standard, what's your bar, what have you signed, what have you done to put yourself in this situation that you're not abiding by our rule and the federal rule. And JFW Corporation has zero tolerance in accordance with these regulations. Any driver found to be in violation of the company policy will be subject to immediate termination. No exceptions. No exceptions. You've signed this. And I believe I'm going to put you a little bit on the spot, Dave. Did we not make an exception this morning?
We did, Jim.
And that's tough because that's not what they signed. And now that driver is questioning our bar, our standard, Dave. But
the other drivers are.
Right.
The other drivers are, but that driver put us on the spot to make us question our bar.
Right.
Should be my statement. And that's tough, you guys, because we're not after having to make this choice. That's the thing. We're having to make a choice. You guys think it's easy to fire somebody? You think it's easy to let anybody go? Right or wrong, clear cut. It is never easy. It is agonizing for myself and Dave as leaders, for the steering committee, and one of the people last week. Luckily, you guys worked 10 or 12 hours because we agonized in how many emails over 8 hours to let somebody go that we all gave our opinion. When it should have been just cut and dried and the driver was let go. But we agonized over it. And here again, where are you guys' bar? You've signed this, you've read it, you know how dangerous it is. We just should not have that type of accident.
Well, how many times did we talk about situational awareness already today?
Yeah.
That's situational awareness. You're sitting at an intersection. You're not stopped somewhere. You're not parked somewhere. How many times have we went over that in the podcast of just stop and park? You're at a plant or you're at a pit within every hour. Almost guaranteed. Or you can stop somewhere anytime.
Yeah.
You can find an off-ramp to park on
if you
for
need
5 minutes and have a conversation.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and you Mike had to leave us, which great guest, but a police officer, their situational awareness could be that they're just shot.
Yep.
Period. Boom, you're dead. I don't give a crap. You're just dead.
Yep.
Our situation, and no matter how badly this driver might feel, but he has no responsibility for that. He's not having to pay for that other car, not having to pay for the damage of the truck. There's no responsibility except for his bar and how he made every one of his sisters and brothers look by that mistake. That should be the weight of the world on his shoulders at that point. Because it's not financial. It's what we talk about every time in this show or this podcast is how the rest of your brothers and sisters are viewed by how you drove that truck. Because you had to talk on the phone. He didn't talk on the phone. I should not say that. Had to look at his phone. And I don't know, the pressure of that, when do, like having the driver's license, when are you guys going to take responsibilities for yourselves? And that's a drastic statement, but I can't go, hey, this week let's not do payroll.
Right.
Hey, I forgot. Hey, wait, I'm not going to make a bank deposit because I'm on the phone. I don't know. It just bothers me deep down.
We talked about that in the committee meeting this morning, Jim. It's being aware of what your responsibilities are in these trucks. Sure, we all come to work. We work 60 hours a week. We get here at 5 o'clock in the morning. We drive 400 miles a day. But every one of those miles that you drive, you are responsible for the truck, for your life, for your family's lives, for the lives of people on the road. And everything that you do will affect that. Even just looking at your phone. What if that, person in that car had a heart attack because he freaked out because the truck was rolling back at him? But every action or inaction has a result. And the consequences of us operating these trucks every day is huge, and it's very easily overlooked. We're just out driving our trucks and looking at the scenery, doing our loads. I'm going to get 6 loads to plant 2 today. Good day. But we have to be aware of that intensity and that seriousness of what we do every day. It's not like we're just going to work and running a cash register or whatever, sweeping a floor.
And those people aren't involved in the cleanup of that either, Dave, because JR or Jam has to turn in that claim to the insurance company. We've got to provide the photos. We've got to somehow get that person's car repaired. That person has to get a rental car for 2 weeks, 3 weeks. What if there's parts on their car with the supply chain issue that aren't available and they're out their car and that's their favorite car? I mean, take away your car. I'm pretty helpless if I don't have my vehicle, and I'm pretty fond of my vehicle. I like it. So, I mean, think about that. Then the next case in that whole scenario is that also broke one of the air fittings on one of the brake pods where the car had when I say the car hit it, it rolled into the car, right? The trailer hit the car, so it damaged one of the brake lines that we weren't aware of, and the shop tried to talk the driver through caging the brake and putting a pin in it or pinning the brake, and that wasn't done to 100% success. And then we caught the trailer brakes on fire, and now that trailer's down and out of service, and that person's car we rolled back into is out of service. We hope there's not a lawsuit through the incident. JR's time was taken, the shop's time was taken, our time was taken. Here we are, beating it all because you had to look at your damn phone. Do your job.
Where did it
Bill
start?
Belichick, just do your job.
Yeah.
There's a time and a place to do these things. That's not it.
Yeah.
Did that driver this morning, Soup, understand the gravity of the situation and what we normally do?
Yeah, I sure believe he did, Jim. He is a conscientious young man, and he made the statement that I am better than that. And I don't remember if I said anything, but I thought it, and it might not have been my outside voice, but you're only as good as you are in that moment.
Right.
We're all human. We all lapse, but essentially we can never lapse out there, not until we set that brake and get out of the truck and turn the engine off. It's a hugely responsible job.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, it makes me think of one of Jam's quotes, and I'm pretty sure I actually have this one right, Jam, but how we do some things is generally how we do all things.
Yes, that's
right.
That's
pretty close.
Very
so
true.
There's some influence in that with saying that, right?
Oh, so that's a perfect segue. Can I bring up pushing the cart back and putting it up at the grocery store.
Every time I go shopping, I think of you, Jim. I don't.
Jim says he hates me because he has to go push the cart back.
Me too. Me too.
The other day I didn't, and I was like, "Screw you, Jim."
I'm gonna get even with you. Right? Oh man!
Just came in. I pushed it back. I put them all inside. I wiped them down for people.
Yeah, I'm glad it turned to laughter because it feels like such a serious.
You look sick over there. Like I'm watching you, and I'm like, "Oh, it's not sitting well with you at all." And you guys talked to me about it yesterday, and I got defensive for the driver because I felt he was better than that. And then the words came out of my mouth before I really thought about it. I'm like, yeah, but he's not really. And then I was like, no, he that's exactly what he did. You can't, it's not defendable.
It's not defendable.
The camera don't lie. We all see what happened.
Yep.
We
weren't aware of our situation. We weren't using our situational awareness. That phone was more important.
More important than the brake pedal.
Absolutely. More important than someone's life. More important than someone's property. Yep. More important than all of those things we just discussed.
Yeah.
And I was made aware of it. I've signed off on a page on it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I was taught that. I went through orientation and was explained that. The whole 9 yards.
I feel like
we weren't negligent on how we approached the problem.
Right?
Yeah. I feel like we need a standards unit here at JFW.
Jam, I have to, because even the standards units has to have a gray area for me. And I know we're trying to hold ourselves accountable. We're talking about that bar, and I was trying to think a better way to point this home is, Paco. I am so proud of you, Paco, because you've been here 4 years and you haven't called out. And I don't know about being late.
Nothing.
So,
and I could be wrong. I know you're accident free, if I'm not mistaken, as well.
Well, just the one lady that crossed the lane and he saved her life.
Right. Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
Being involved in a non at fault accident is still accident free. Right.
Yeah.
You didn't cause it.
Right.
Yeah. And the reason I am so proud of you, Paco, is because my bar is that. And if you can't live up to my bar, then I don't look down at you, but if I can do it, you can do it.
Right.
So Paco, I don't know if you're aware of it, but for elementary school, I got the award that they've only ever giving out, at that time when I graduated from elementary school, but I never missed a day of school in 6 years. And I got a special award that I didn't even know I was going to get.
That's cool.
And so that was the start of my mom. Evelyn used to make fun of me that I only got sick in the summer and on winter break. That's the only time I was sick. So Christmas break, I was always sick. But yeah, and then through my 40 years here at JFW, I can probably count in 40 years. I mean, Dave, what do you think I've been late? 10 times? 5 times?
Yeah, at most.
And I guess that's my bar, know, and if I can do it, you can do it. I guess it's the same thing. If where Ray came from, if he can do it, you can do it. There's no excuses, and we can't be on the phone because that's our bar. We have to set that up. Everybody has to do that for 6 months, 2 years, 40 years. It doesn't matter. We have to be able to do that.
Yeah,
and yeah,
I agree. Guys want to hit the new segment, tips and tricks?
Yeah, you want to take, because that's another thing. I'm proud of Ray on that one because that's a hell of a little tip. It's a great tip. I mean, you want me to do it or you guys do it?
The tip of just stay off the phone.
Wait a minute. Let me back up for safety topics too, though, because Troy, talking to him on the radio this morning, brought up some good issues because we were trying to hold up one of the Coors delivery trucks that was headed out east to one of the dairies out to not Wildcat,
Deer Valley.
Deer Valley. Thanks, Dave. I never remembered Deer Valley, but anyway, yeah. we just had a hell of a storm out east, right? We got a skiff. We got nothing here. Right. But out east, they got pounded, and then the wind and snow drifts, road closures, I-76 closed. I don't think we've delivered a load out I-76 for 24 hours as of this morning, right? So that driver was headed out there, and it's like, whoa, the interstate's closed. We've got, 8 preloaded trucks between last night and what we didn't deliver yesterday afternoon and whatnot. So there's a lot of Coors issues. And I think this kind of translates a little bit to bulkers too, because at 3 o'clock this morning, Rob was sending out texts and emails holding up the bulker guys because 287 was closed as well due to wind and blowing snow conditions. So for safety topics, think of where you're going. Think of the distance you're going. Think of the weather that might be out there. I know Dave talks about being a Boy Scout all the time and bring extra clothing. I mean, I know he always drives that home, but between here and Fairplay is almost the same as between here and Deer Valley. It's an hour drive out there. It was a whole lot different weather conditions out there than it was here, right? Here it was perfectly fine. You'd never know anything was bad. But out there it was a mess. I mean, Jesse sent a video yesterday. I don't know how long he was stuck out there out on I-76. I don't even know where at, but it was blizzard-like conditions. It was miserable. I don't even know if he was able to deliver his load. He may have brought it back. I'm not sure.
He did.
Did he?
Yeah,
so,
I mean, I didn't ask him, but I saw it on the Samsara.
Gotcha.
He went all the way out there and was on his way back.
Gotcha. But he did deliver.
Yeah.
Okay. So on those delivery things, and this is because of past experience, right? All of those dirt roads are crowned. If they're snow-packed and snow-covered, do we drive in the middle of them, or do we drive clear to the side where if you lose traction, you're going to slide into the ditch?
Boy, I stay in the middle no matter what.
Right, Dave? Exactly. It could be soft. It could be wet. It could be slick. It could be anything. I mean, we have made so many trips out there on dirt roads for trucks in the ditch or trucks stuck on the road or trucks stuck in a snowdrift, right? We've had a trailer at an actual dairy that we tipped over because he drove out where no one else was driving, and there was a borrow ditch that was snowed over. You couldn't see the ditch, and he dropped the trailer in it, and it was loaded, and it tipped over as he was turning around, But shouldn't he was someplace he shouldn't have been, doing something he shouldn't have been doing, not focused, not on his situational awareness. All of the things pointed to it was wrong. So the snow on the road, the crowns. I mean, we've had another driver that was just plain out lost in the dark, got disoriented, and I mean, he was like a quarter mile out in a field. There wasn't even a road. And we had to have a tow truck drag the truck like a quarter mile or several thousand feet just to get it back up on the road. And, so we have to have situational awareness. We have to have the forethought to go, hey, I better check if it's okay to deliver out there. In these snowstorms, I mean, the freezing conditions, am I able to scrape the trailer out and get the grain off of the sides clean enough so I can go haul a load because it's only 6 degrees out there? Or there's a lot to what we do. And you have to have situational awareness and the forethought to think ahead, right? I'm loading at Coors, weather's fine here. What's it like in Fort Morgan? Blizzard-like conditions, 6 degrees. Am I going to be able to see down the road? Am I going to be able to see the driveway? Am I going to be able to see the entrance? Well, I'm not going to worry. The weather's too bad out here for me to get out of the cab and clean out. I'm just going to go haul a load. It can't be that bad. And all of a sudden we've got grain in something or something like that, where we can't have that. I mean, it is not an option, right? If I don't want to clean out in nice weather, I'm damn sure not going to want to clean out in bad weather, right? Instead of being too hot, I'd rather be too hot and clean out than too cold, because that's just even more complicated.
Yeah, I was sitting here thinking, Dave, is our wonderful state here, and Super Dave, I know you brought this up lots of times, is how many times have we driven around the state and been in 4 seasons? All
in the same day.
Yeah. All in the same load or all in the same day. 4 seasons, no problem. But that's part of our state, And something the driver mentioned to me this morning before we held him up, which I just ran into it, this summer. Luckily, it was warm and nice out for me to shovel for about 2 hours and help the driver out. But he immediately mentioned that his GPS routed him some back roads out to the dairy, Dave. And you guys, I love the technology. The GPS, tells you whether you can make it to the pit or not, what the traffic is, and all like that. But what I ran into is this summer is the GPS gave the guy directions to go around because the road was closed. But what the GPS didn't realize was some farmer walked out because his road had blown closed and dropped a closed sign right in the middle of the road. Well, that's not reported to Google. There's the best way is on the highway, the same route we always go.
The same route that's in the book.
Same route that it's in the book. You stick to the script. You can't make it up. And if we need to make it up, it needs to be a discussion with everybody.
Yep.
Because the more feedback, the more successful we're going to be.
Absolutely. Here's the number one thing: stop. Just stop and call someone. And that was a bit of a case this morning. I was going.
Yep.
You know what I mean? There was some. I'm going. It doesn't matter what the roads are like. I'm going.
Yep.
Right? I heard the highway's closed. I can get around it. I'm going. We'll pay you to wait. We've always paid you to wait. Just stop. Give us 15 minutes. That's all we're asking. Give us 15 minutes to make an educated decision, and we'll move forward from there. Because generally, it's going to be the best decision. We can round table. We can regroup. We can do whatever. Because it's not a simple decision.
Old Captain Ron, he had a great saying, and I repeat it all the time. Big truck, big road.
Yep. Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah, you're spot on, Dave.
Because we used to send them to golf courses, which was a cart path. Big truck.
Yep. Big truck, big road. Stay on the big road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the end of my Coors issues, and that relates to balking as well. You know what I mean? All those weather. It relates to everything, right? Not just Coors. So.
Like it.
Yep.
All right. I think this is our second week of tips and tricks. Fred Powell, he had one, Uncle Freddie, and that was your TPMS may be in the wrong location. So if you're getting an alert on your truck that your left rear inside tire is low and you go out and you check it and it's fine, well, maybe check some other tires. So, and then write it up, make sure the shop gets that relocated or whatever they got to do.
Yeah, great tip. But again, you're already out there. You got the hammer in your hand. I can't just hit one tire. You know what I mean? Just hit them all.
Yeah.
Just check where you're at.
Even better.
Yep.
And then Ray, he's going to be doing this every week, I believe. And he said, now that it's dark, we all come in the dark, so backing into spots is a little more difficult to get into, especially in the red yard with no lights. A trick you can do is get out and turn on the marker lights on the two trucks that you're going to park in between. That way you can not only see each side, but also the way down the sides. Also, if I still can't see, I will put the hazards on. I feel like it does make the lights brighter, but most of all, get out and look.
Yep.
So great tip there.
Couple things to add to that is roll down your windows, especially if they're tinted.
Right.
Because I'm sorry, I don't care how young your eyes are. You can't see out of those tinted windows as well as you can clear windows, right?
When I'm making a left-hand turn onto my block at nighttime now, on my way home, it's just, I just don't feel like I could see good, and I'm just like, well, let me roll that down as I'm turning.
I run those windows down constantly.
Even right up here, same thing on 56, making that left. I got to roll them down to see. So.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
Also, especially this time of the year, running in foul weather, got to clean your mirrors and windows.
Yep.
Got to clean them, man. You got to, not just that front windshield, your mirrors need to be clean, your side windows need to be clean, and use that back window. Please.
Clean that back window.
Yeah, that just adds to your senses, right? When you're navigating from mirror to mirror, your eyes are picking up what's in that back window. Use it.
Here's one other tip or trick. Use a spotter if you got it. If you're in that red lot and you're having a hard time, man, don't be scared to ask for somebody to
right?
They don't have to drive your truck and tell you which way to turn your steering wheel, because a lot of people have too much pride for that. But they can tell you to stop. And if they tell you to stop. It's a good idea to stop.
Yeah.
I was thinking about this statement here with Ray, and I was kind of wondering how many people, because he said this specifically in this, and I don't want to repeat it, but I wonder how many people will come to us and go, oh, I can't do that because the headlights bother me. They blind me. So I'm just curious if...
Well, you said the marker lights.
Exactly, Jim. Thank you for giving that away.
Oh, dang it.
You got that, huh?
I'm like, we got the same outline?
Exactly.
You know,
so just the marker lights, you guys, if you do that trick.
Yep.
You know, don't flip on the headlights. Can't see.
Yeah. I have had a couple guys, though, say turn on the headlights on the trucks on the other side.
Light up that area in front of you
Exactly.
or behind you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
Sometimes that helps. You know,
Yeah.
you still just got to be slow, cautious, and know where everything's at.
Yeah, I would have
You know?
never thought about turning on the light, marker lights. I mean,
Yeah.
I just think that's a great idea because I've always done the four ways.
Yeah.
You know, roll down the windows and try to do the four ways.
Yeah, and
You
our
know,
LEDs are bright.
Or you know, when we had sticks, I just loved to touch on the brakes just enough to bring the brake lights up.
Yeah.
Or just crack the Johnny bar or the pinch valve, bring your brake lights up, and that was a lot. But that's stopping you now.
Yeah.
You know, you can't back up. So yeah.
Yeah. Also, too, I mean, Mike Bortz, he created the saying, just like you said, Captain Ron, big truck, big road. Well, Mike Bortz has claimed the saying, and Mike, you should patent it, man. This is a patentable comment as far as I'm concerned. But pulling forward is free. Backing into something is expensive. So good job, Mike. Thank you for that information.
Yeah. Cheap.
Yep.
Pulling up is cheap.
There you go. Soup, I've been waiting all morning for this. You want to hit us with a high road hauling?
I have a high road hauling here for sure. So this kind of actually was something we touched on in the safety committee meeting. So we had a driver that took a heavy load down Highway 85, and he didn't have his heavyweight permit yet. And he did it because the drivers in front of him were asking for 30 tons. So he thought, oh, okay, it's okay for me to haul 30 tons. So he was, essentially being the sheep in the flock and just trying to do what everybody else was doing.
Good thing they weren't driving off cliffs.
Right? Well, I believe that people should be more aware of this and try to, set this as a goal, right? Not just a goal for their work, but an everyday goal for life. But every human being is completely unique. Your exact history, experience, and perspective, along with your interests, skills, and physical makeup, are like no one else's. We as human beings are unique individuals, and we must remain mindful of the fact that we must remain mindful of that fact as we live our lives. Your life is yours, my life is mine, and so on for each individual. There's no set model or map for life for human beings. Our futures are not strictly determined by our biology, our history, our culture, or other factors that become part of our life at birth. We have options and, in most instances, the freedom to craft ourselves based on individual interests, skills, and motivations. In spite of these two truths, there are influences in life that make it difficult for us to act like individuals and to assume the personal responsibility necessary to freely develop our individuality. Sometimes we don't stop to think about the needs and desires of our individual selves. Sometimes we don't have the courage to live our lives in a certain way. And sometimes the influences of others are just too strong to let our individuality shine through. I'm going to struggle with that word. Imagine you're in a boat in a fast-moving stream. The stream's strong current is, quote, what one does. Your boat has a steering system. That system is thought, reflection, choice-making capacity, and emotional engagement with the world. But it's switched off when you don't think for yourself. So you drift along in the direction of the current until something anchors you in place, which happens when we get stuck by a question, a doubt, a realization. And this disrupts your going with the flow. Do you take a look around and realize that there are so many different directions you could take? Only if you choose to steer that boat. You may be thinking, but people don't all do and think and feel and value and judge the same. There's plenty of disagreement between individuals and groups of people, and plenty of different life paths people pursue. The idea of doing, quote, what one does doesn't mean that there's only one current to drift along on. There are plenty of them. And the ones that we find ourselves swept away by depends on several factors, including who we're around, where we physically are, the types of information we are exposed to, and the way we're educated. But a man becomes a lawyer, a man becomes a lawyer or a coal miner because that's what his father did. A woman marries young and has kids as soon as possible because that's what one does in her family. A man is the member of a religious faith because he was born into it and never questioned it. The people in these examples may have never asked themselves what they really wanted to do. They took it for granted. That's what one does. It's to follow in the footsteps of those who came before them. It's important to realize as we move forward into the future, we have the ability to make our own choices that are best for us, our own life and circumstances. When we do just that, we will be happier, feel more fulfilled, and become empowered to sail our own boat in the river of our choice. And I absolutely love this quote. It's something that I think maybe teenagers should sit down and think on. But there are two great days in a person's life: the day we are born and the day we discover why, by William Barclay.
Wow.
I like it. Well, I'm going to kick the final thoughts off just because of your High Road hauling, Soup. And it's just a quote I really like. And Brother Dave, you mentioned, my other quote about the way somebody does one thing is the way they're going to do everything, right? Well, this is another quote I like, and it says, people like us do things like this. And that's by Seth Godin, right? We put our shopping carts away. People like us, that's what we do. We roll our windows down when we're backing. We go above and beyond. We try our very best. You could take that quote for a lot of different things, but when you look at our standards, these are the things that we do.
Wow, very good.
Good
Jim.
stuff. Our
I
bar,
like it.
huh, Jim?
That's
Yeah.
our bar.
Yep.
I've said it before, and I'm just going to say it again. Do the right thing,
Spike Lee.
and it's easy. You don't have to look back. You don't have to think twice. It's the right thing. It's every single thing we've talked about today when you just do the right thing. So
Yep.
I'm going to leave it at that.
I like it.
Yeah, mine, we talk about or in business or stuff like that, you run across where we've used the expression to pull a weed. Sometimes you might have, a bad employee or there's something going on and you need to pull that weed. And I ran across a story the other day that the guy was talking about himself and other people, and that a lot of us, we might not be happy or we don't think we're happy, so we try to do more things to make ourselves happy. And his story was, if you look at your life like a garden, sometimes we spend so much time, just trying to take care of the flowers and water them and stuff like that, because that's the part that makes us feel good. But sometimes you have to step back and maybe look at the stuff that is robbing the energy from you, that's feeling bad. It might be something even personal where you don't think you're good enough. Well, that energy is robbing from the good stuff. And I don't know if some of us realize that some days. We had a good friend out yesterday that we just talked with, and his son had an accident back in college, and one of his son's comments was, that I'm just useless. And he was like, no, you're 19 years old, you had an accident, this is where you learn, but he already took something, it wasn't good, but he was dinging himself. And so I guess I would have to ask, if you have somebody, possibly in your life, or how you feel about yourself or other things going on, maybe you have to look at them as a weed, because if you're not tending those weeds branch out. They send the little feeder roots out, and pretty soon they're overtaking your garden. So if you're looking at your garden, you guys, maybe spend a little more time on the weeds, and your flowers will blossom. So kind of my last thoughts there.
Love
There
it.
you go.
Soup, you got anything else?
Yeah, I'm just going to follow up on my High Road hauling. Everybody questions themselves, but do what is best for you, do what you feel that is going to make yourself thrive, and figure out why. So there you have it.
Yeah.
Amen, my
Good
friend.
stuff.
Let's hit the creed.
Let's hit the creed.
Together we
Face and overcome all that stands before us. Together we are accident-free. Together we joyfully create honest value for those we serve. Together we celebrate our differences and respect those with whom we work. Together we are accountable for our words and our actions. And together we are the JFW family.
Right on.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good week.